Good afternoon. As it is 5:30 p.m., City Council meeting of December 2nd, 2025 will be called to order. We acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people. We pay our respects to those past and present. Tonight's invocation will be led by Pastor Matthew Erikson from the First Reformed Church. If we could all please stand.
Good evening. Let us pray. God of all wisdom and mercy, we pause at the beginning of this meeting to acknowledge your presence and to give thanks. In the wake of Thanksgiving last week, we remember the many gifts we enjoy in this community, the beauty of our island, the safety and freedom we know, the service of those in uniform, and the countless quiet acts of kindness that often go unseen. Grant to these council members clarity of mind, steadiness of heart, and a spirit of cooperation as they make decisions that affect our neighbors, our businesses, and our most vulnerable residents. Where there is disagreement, give patience and respect. Where there's confusion, provide insight. Where there is fatigue, renew their strength. Bless this meeting and bless the people of our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Erikson. Please remain standing for the pledge and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder that this will be both a physical and virtual meeting. The meeting may be viewed on YouTube, Facebook, and following the meeting on cable channel 10 HD 1090. I don't think we need roll call tonight. Councilmember Wittgenstein has been asked to be excused from the meeting this evening, so I would entertain a motion to excuse him. Yes, Councilmember Romero.
And we move to excuse Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Are there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. He is excused from the meeting tonight. All right, next we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I will ask if there are any changes to the regular agenda as it's been presented. All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councilmember Marshall.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented by Councilmember Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Romero. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Tonight we have a couple of presentations. To start us off, we have the Boy Scout Troop 4059 Wreath presentation. Scoutmaster Ricky Ford is here with us to present the wreath with the Boy Scouts.
You have a speech?
On behalf of Troop 4059, I'm honored to present the wreath to the city of Oak Harbor. Thank you for supporting us over the years.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if we could all... We're going to take a couple minute break to stand up and take pictures for them with them and thank them for coming forward and presenting us with the wreath.
about how this is my old Boy Scout troop. Yeah? So for 8 years, I've had to listen to that every year when you guys come to present a wreath. But I used to be in Troop 59 in the shed out back, me and my dad built it. And I sold many one of these wreaths over the years. Appreciate you guys.
Is that shed still standing?
That shed is still standing. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Go ahead and lead it up.
You guys can just prop it right there.
Little to the left, like 2 inches.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. All right, I'm very excited to introduce our next presentation tonight. We have a Gold Star City Initiative, and here to speak to us and present to us on this is Julie Street and Aaron Duran.
Right here, this is the spot. Hi, so I had a PowerPoint sent in. If we have that or not. Oh, no, okay.
It's not a taser, right?
I actually do. I don't fit in it. Yeah, I even have my sash with my daggers on, hair daggers on.
Do you have the thing?
Mm-hmm. I have to wait for him to pull it up.
Is he doing that?
While the PowerPoint is being pulled up, again, my name is Julie Street. This is Aaron Doran. And I would like to introduce a few people that are with us today representing the VFW Gold Star Families of Washington. And I would like to, again, to introduce Aaron Doran. I'm going to speak about our son that passed away during military service. Also, we have Bob and Jane Hughes that are Gold Star family. Jane is a representative with the USO for Gold Star families, or she is the Gold Star Families of Washington rep and works with the USO. She wears many hats, as many of us do. I have Dean McKinney here, that is the VFW National Deputy Chief of Staff and Department Riders Chairman. We have Bob Mador, Robert Mador, that is the current VFW Post 7392 state post commander. And we have Courtney Rowe, that is the VFW auxiliary president. And I want to thank everybody for being here for Aaron, and we're all a huge family. So, as it says here, I'm here in loving memory of Sergeant Colby Doran. I apologize, that is one mistake that happened in my slide in a hurry. He was U.S. Army National Guard, passed away in 2020. And we want to do this presentation in his name and our family and many other families in the state of Washington. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members. I am here speaking for Colby Doran, who served in the National Guard and passed away in 2020 at 22 while serving our country. So a few questions. What is a Gold Star family? So originated in World War I, families hung service flags with blue stars, gold stars, and I believe silver star, correct? with some of the other stars, but Gold Star families who we're here for today. A gold star replaced the blue if a loved one died while serving. The gold represents honor, sacrifice, and remembrance, including parents, spouses, siblings, and children who lost a loved one while in service. And why it matters, Oak Harbor is deeply connected to the military life, as we all know. NAS Whidbey Island is the central point to our community, and we also have, as everybody knows, JBLM, Bremerton, many other bases in our surrounding areas across the state, all branches. Becoming a Gold Star family city honors those who made the ultimate sacrifice and their families. It's a public commitment to remembrance, respect, and support. A little story, that is Colby, and we would like to remember him and many other families for their courage, compassion, and love. His story has represented the countless Gold Star families that carry their loved ones' legacies with strength and pride. Number one is the official resolution. City Council declares Oak Harbor a Gold Star family city, is what we are discussing today. The city liaison or committee to connect and support families. Year-round recognition, for, like parades, ceremonies, and events. Physical remembrance, a memorial bench, a plaque, or signage, which we are usually through the Gold Star families work on grants for this to help our cities. And it was brought up by Jane that we have, I believe, about 8 cities that are in progress right now through the state of Washington that are looking at becoming Gold Star cities. So I'm really spearheading this in the next 2 years to work on the state of Washington to have a trail like we have Purple Hearts. When you're traveling the freeway and you stop at a rest stop, you'll see Purple Heart, and it's a safe place and a connection for families. Education and awareness. School and youth programs can teach about services and sacrifices. Not only are we veterans, but we are families that have sacrificed, and we feel that they need a safe place and to be noticed in their community. Encourage participation from local organizations such as the VFW and Gold Star Families of Washington. American Legion has discussed this and so on. And to remember our fallen heroes. The impact of this commitment. For families, they know their loved ones are remembered. For service members, their community honors their sacrifice at all levels. For youth, teaches gratitude and civic duty. For Oak Harbor, strengthen our identity as a city of honor and compassion. Losing Colby changed our life forever, and his spirit lives on in the hearts and in our community that gathered. We couldn't have done it without our community when we needed financial, emotional help. From all corners of this city, they helped us, and I really want to say that to our public. Every Gold Star family has a love, a loss, and a legacy, and I would love Oak Harbor to honor that. Oak Harbor has the heart, I know, to ensure that these stories are never forgotten. Call to action, adopt a resolution declaring Oak Harbor a Gold Star family. Again, Commander Bob is Gold Star, Jane and Bob are Gold Star families, and I know countless across this state that I would love for the city of Oak Harbor to be the lead in this, that it is doable. Again, appoint a liaison to guide the program. Begin with a small, meaningful step towards recognition and support to say that every Gold Star family, we remember you, we honor you, and we support you. And in closing, on behalf of Aaron, Colby's father, and myself as his stepmother forever, and Courtney and Dean, everybody knew him very well. And the VFW Washington State Commander, Drew James, was unable to make it tonight due to an urgent commitment. And again, the families, we want to thank you for your time and leadership. So in loving memory of Sergeant Colby Doran, sorry about the typo, and honor of all Gold Star families, may Oak Harbor always be a community that remembers Gold Star families. Thank you. And Jane, would you like to come up and have a quick moment?
Hi, so I'm Jane Hughes, and I'm the co-founder and president of Gold Star Families of Washington. And we formed Gold Star Families in 2023 so that all families could be represented, all family members, mothers, fathers, siblings, and we are very inclusive so that we can, there's American Gold Star mothers, there's American Gold Star spouses, but we felt, and we were requested by many family members to make an organization that serves everybody. Our logo, which is right here, was developed by the Seahawks for us, and this is what the sign looks like. It's got this swoopy star, and then it says Gold Star Family City. The program was started in Tenino by a VFW member there, and we have all the paperwork for everything you would need and can send it over for the proclamation and the signage. We do have signs that an initial donation was provided to pay for the first, I think, 50 signs. So that is all I have. If anyone has any questions.
So I just want to first say personally, thank you for coming tonight and presenting. Thank you for your sacrifice and your continued efforts to put this in the forefront of all of our minds to remember those that we have lost. And as a veteran myself, it means a lot to me personally. So, and I can speak, I think, on behalf of most of council up here or all of council. We've already drafted the resolution. We will be bringing that forward at the next council meeting for them to adopt and put into place. So, but thank you very much for coming forward and sharing your story and remembering your family members and loved ones. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that council wanted to add or ask or speak on? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I remember reading a report where the number of actual U.S. citizens that are veterans as a percentage of the total is low, although on Whidbey Island we have a large number of veterans. But I think the Gold Star Family City designation is wonderful as a reminder to those who have served and given ultimate sacrifice, and also the relatives who've had lost loved ones. But at the same time, it's bringing to the forefront the sacrifices that many people have experienced to give us the freedoms that we have, and that needs to be a constant reminder that the freedoms we have are not to be taken for granted at all. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree. Anything else from council? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
Just want to say thank you for putting the time and the bravery shown by coming and presenting to us. Obviously, we know each other. I see in my day job as a funeral director how these sort of programs help to keep the memory of those alive. But I really like how you talked about working with other cities. It sounds like you've turned grief into a mission. I think Colby would be proud.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
You honor us with your presence tonight. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. We are going to move forward in the program then and go into public comments. At this time, comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest not listed on the agenda at this time. The opportunity to comment on the remaining agenda items during the meeting as appropriate will be afforded to you all at that time. Comments on public hearing items are heard during that portion of the agenda as well. Please visit our website for methods to submit public comments. Public comments sent anonymously or from a non-verifiable address will be shared with the mayor and council but will not be displayed. We received no new public comments since our last regular meeting. At this time, we will accept public comments on items not listed on the agenda or on the consent agenda. Julie, have we had anyone sign in that would like to make public comment at this time?
Mayor, no one signed in advance of the meeting.
Great, thank you. So is there anyone that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on an item that is not on the agenda at this time? Not on the agenda. is your item on the consent agenda item? Yes. Yeah, you can step forward and make comment then.
Thank you, Mayor Wright, trying to follow proper protocol. Stephanie Smith, resident, City of Oak Harbor, and I just wanted to take a brief moment during public comment to introduce myself to maybe the one person in here that may not know me, but I am very honored and excited to potentially serve on the Salary Commission. I know that's the consent agenda for the appointment, but I'm very much looking forward to that and working with the other members of the Salary Commission. I do bring a lot of experience to that particular role. I currently work in human resources, so we do a lot of work with wage studies. I also served on the International Compensation Board for Seroptimists to help set salaries for paid positions within the Seroptimist organization. So I have depth and breadth of experience in that area and look forward to serving the City of Oak Harbor. So thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you for stepping forward and volunteering, Stephanie. We appreciate your efforts. All right, is there anybody else with us this evening that would like to step forward and make comment on an item that is not on the agenda? All right, hearing none, we will close public comment and we will move on to our consent agenda. Are there any objections or changes to the consent agenda as it's been presented? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Merrow. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Seeing, hearing none, let's all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, we are going to move on to mayor's comments. We have a new award called the We See You Award. I've created this award for all of us to look out for those representing Oak Harbor and making us shine. I presented the first We See You Awards to Abigail Giuliano and Bradley Price yesterday at their high school pep rally. They will be representing Oak Harbor at this year's Rose Parade. Speaking of schools, congratulations to Oak Harbor Public Schools for earning Board of the Year from medium-sized districts from the Washington State School Directors Association. The board was recognized for their student-focused governance and the successful adoption of a comprehensive strategic plan. The honor places Oak Harbor Public Schools at the top of a record cohort of 49 boards of distinction across Washington. Way to go. While we are in a congratulating mood, I'd like to congratulate our city team and grants administrator Wendy Horn. The city was notified on Friday, November 21st, that we have been awarded nearly $670,000 for a street improvement project on Southeast Barrington Drive. Thank you to Puget Sound Energy. As winter temperatures drop across the Pacific Northwest, Puget Sound Energy is helping communities stay warm through its 2025 Warm Winter campaign. They have distributed more than $250,000 to programs across the state. A few of the local recipients include I Support the Girls, Kids First Island County, Readiness to Learn, Senior Services of Island County, and South Whidbey Homeless Coalition House of Hope. Island Transit is planning service changes to March 2026, and they'd love to hear your thoughts. They are hosting public meetings here in Oak Harbor on December 6th and 8th. More info at islandtransit.org. Upcoming events, there is a lot going on in our community this weekend. A holiday market at the center this Saturday at 9 a.m. Free entry, over 30 vendors. Watch the Oak Harbor Yacht Club lighted boat parade from the Oak Harbor Marina on Saturday, then stick around for the Santa Parade and tree lighting. City Department Directors Retreat. On Friday, the 12th, we will be gathering with all department directors to hit the reset button for 2026. We'll be talking about where we're headed, how we can lead well, and how to share the workload in smarter ways. It's a chance for us to step back, regroup, and make sure we're all on the same page as we move to better support Oak Harbor in 2026. We are still taking applications for advisory boards and commissions. Follow us on social media to stay connected. All right, with that, I will open it up to City Council for their comments at this time. Councilmember Arms. It's been a long day.
Yes, it's been a long day. I just want to say the Marina Advisory Board is doing well. We had a meeting last week of both the capital improvement subcommittee and the one that would be the subcommittee that is in charge of, planning for events or anything that needs to be done around the harbor, like hanging the baskets. Was a 1.5 hour meeting for 1.5 hours for the one, 1.5 hours for the other. Very informative. There's a long list of things that we've put in place. We're having another subcommittee on the 15th. And then we are having, in January, we are planning to have a meeting with the tenants, hoping to have it at City Hall. And we are also looking at the fact, I am attending the Island Transit thing on Saturday to find out if we can change our schedule from on-call to permanent. And also, we're doing a survey for the marina tenants and get some input on how they feel Island Transit is. So there's a lot going on, and it's been really pretty busy and very active on being proactive to see what we can do with what we have.
Thank you for that, and thank you for all your hard work on this. I know you're out there beating the streets every day, and I appreciate all the hard work you're doing. Yes, Councilmember Merrill.
I'm not sure of the context of this, but I did want to commend Maggie Aguilar in public because she put on or organized a successful first meeting of many organizational and business leaders to deconflict scheduling of events across Oak Harbor, and I thought it was just a wonderful plus up on account of the benefit it brought to all of us. And then also with regard to the marina, at that meeting, I was very much impressed with the harbor master's presentation of all these different events, which she along with the yacht club they're really expanding the involvement of the general population for events down at the marina, and that's exactly what I was asking them to do. So I just wanted to praise them in public because we need to drive public support so that the marina project gets, the support it needs to be completed. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and thank you for that. It definitely reflects a team effort on behalf of all of the administration and staff at the city in trying to emphasize the importance of the marina and what it means to our community. So thanks for recognizing that, and that shout out. Elise is doing a fantastic job. So, all right. Anything else from those here tonight before we move forward? All right, then we will move on to our public hearings and meetings. The first item on the agenda is ordinance number 2035 by mid-biennial budget amendment. And here to introduce that is our Deputy City Administrator and Finance Director, David Goldman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, David Goldman. This is the final budget amendment for the year 2025. This is the biennial budget amendment. This amendment's a little different than the previous amendments that you usually see. This amendment's required by the RCWs and also the Oak Harbor Municipal Code. Whenever a code city does a biennial budget like we do, we have to do a true-up to the second year of the biennial in order to keep in compliance with the law. So you won't be seeing a bunch of projects and initiatives listed. You'll just be seeing adjustments for the 2026 beginning and ending fund balances based on the projections throughout the remainder of 2025 and where we think the fund balance will end up being. This mid-biennial amendment must occur between September 1st and December 31st. And per the GASB and SAO guidelines, the beginning fund balance figures represents the amount of a fund's unencumbered fund balance. It's not considered the non-spendable, restricted, reserved, or encumbered portion of the fund balances. So this chart here shows, actually, let me just take a closer look at it on my screen. There we go. So this is an overview of where we anticipated per the amended budget for 2025 to be with our ending fund balances and where we're projecting to end up be. you can see that for the general funds, we're looking at being better than our budget by about $2.6 million. So we're looking to end the year, based on our projections, of about $5 million of unencumbered budgeted ending fund balance. And that was mostly due to better than expected sales tax and investment revenues, and also various capital projects that will be carried forward to the second year of the biennial budget. There's a few smaller numbers for some of the smaller funds. I provided additional context for the larger changes as well. So you can see that Fund 007, that's our general fund projects fund. That $6.4 million amount that you see in green is money that's being carried forwarded to 2026 for the purpose of the fire station and the purchase of the Quint apparatus. For the next fund, you have the streets fund. We had expense savings in there, and we had positive revenues, investment earnings as well for streets fund. For the streets capital projects fund, we have unspent streets projects, including the shoreline restoration project, which will be carried forward to 2026. For Fund 105, our transportation capital improvement fund, our transportation impact fees came in lower than we originally estimated. In addition, we had additional expenses for the Northeast 7th and Swantown projects. For the TBD funds, we'll be carrying forward TBD projects until 2026. The same with the Arts Fund. We'll be carrying forward projects and initiatives to 2026. For the LTAC funds, that's just based on grant disbursement trends and additional investment earnings. So that's, in addition to the lodging tax, investment earnings is allocated to all the funds, and there was additional investment earnings to that fund as well. Most of these are just, like if you look at the Windjammer Parks Project Fund and the Water Fund and so on, a lot of projects and initiatives are just being carried forward to the second year of the biennial budget. For the solid waste and storm drain funds, our operating expenses are projected to be lower than expected. For the Marina Fund, our personal expenses are projected to be lower, and various revenues are higher than originally budgeted. For the cumulative reserve sewer fund, Fund 412, we have positive system development revenues there, a little better than expected. For Fund 422, the Clean Water Facility Project Fund, we budgeted projects for 2025. Those will be carried forward to the following year, and that's pretty much the same story for the rest of the funds. We've had projects that we haven't completed spending in 2025, and we'll be carrying those forward into the following year. For the Fund 432 sewer projects, that's a large negative number. That's mostly because the grant revenues for the inflow and infiltration project, the revenues will be carried forward. We're expecting to get those revenues in the future year instead of getting them in 2025. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. And with that, we have a recommended motion on the screen for you to take a look at, and we're available to field any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, David, for the presentation. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and I will confirm with Julie that we've received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
All right. And is there anyone here present with us this evening that would like to step forward and make comment on this issue? All right. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and call upon council for their questions and comments at this time. Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
Just one question. You might not be able to answer this one. It's regarding the Windjammer Park and Universal Playground carry forward. And I understand we're calling what was the accessible playground the Universal Playground. Is that?
It's the same.
Changing the name. Do we know in that fund how much is appropriated for the playground as opposed to general Windjammer Park improvements?
We have all the projects listed. I could pull that up. It might take a few minutes, or I can get that for you after.
You can get it. Just, I didn't know that we had budget assigned for the Universal Playground. That's why I was just curious what the breakdown is on that.
I could find that out for you.
Okay.
It may have just been a placeholder type of thing because we were having, a lot of times when we have grants for a project that we don't yet have the revenues for, we call them unsecured grants. So that might be the reason. But I'll take a closer look at that and we can get back to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Councilmember Romero?
Thanks for the excellent briefing. I was wondering, Mr. Goldman, was there anything in the budget amendment process that stood out as being kind of remarkable or unusual from your perspective as a professional, or was it all pretty much routine?
Well, most of it were carry forwards. Like, we knew the fire station wasn't going to be completed in '25, so we knew we'd be carrying forward a lot of those funds. In addition, the Quint, we put a little bit down on the Quint, and we're expecting to receive it in '26. So, that was completely expected. We were a little surprised at the impact fees, the transportation impact fees. We were not expecting those to be as much as below budget as they ended up being. So that'll be something we'll be talking to the city council about next year, because we have that consultant on board. We'll be taking a look at our impact fees, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
And to give you guys a brief update on the Quint, Chief just went back east last week or week before last?
Mid-October, and we go back for the Indian in 2 weeks.
It was that long ago. Well, it felt like just a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, everything's on schedule. I think you had a few changes that you recommended or made with them, but everything else is on schedule, and it's looking good to arrive on time, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that question? Tony interrupted me.
Everything's looking good and slated to arrive on time. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and we're on budget, so
Yep.
we're good. Yeah, so. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and thank you for the great presentation, Mr. Goldman. Can you give us just a general idea, and I won't hold you to it to the penny. I notice you've got, for example, one amendment in here for $4.35. But I won't hold you to that exact pricing. But on the transportation impact fees, how much of that is a shortfall from transportation impact fees versus the Northeast 7th and Swantown projects?
Okay, I'm pulling up the spreadsheet now. Let's see what I could find. Data. 105. Oh, it's over here. Please talk amongst yourselves.
Well, and yeah, we're yeah, and of course I'm just trying to get an idea. I mean, we talking 200,000 of that.
All right, we have a budget for the transportation impact fee of 100,000, and we've received $31,397.61 as of November 10th, and I'm projecting 40,000 just based on
Okay, so a $60,000
About $60,000.
shortfall there. So the remaining of that 289 is from the Northeast 7th and Swantown projects. But it sounds like we've only collected roughly a third of what we had budgeted for transportation impact fees, where it looks like park impact fees, unless there's something else included in there, it looked like we collected about 95% of what was budgeted.
Take a look here.
And you know, those two fees are kind of interconnected a little bit, aren't they? Because they're associated with new construction.
Yeah, and it depends on the type of new construction that we're getting. You know, for a certain new construction, like mostly, I got to look into the details of what's applicable to it, but I think residential for sure is applicable to parks, but non-residential might not be. So
well, normally commercial, we have an
Yeah.
impact,
But I just wanna
transportation
I
impact
could
fee
take a
that's
closer
paid.
look at that, yeah.
So what I guess I'm trying to get to, you know, is those decreases in those budgets due to an overall decrease in that activity, right? The trend, right? Or is it a formulative thing? And it sounds like it might be formulative if we've got that big of a disparity in transportation impact versus the smaller disparity we've got in park impact fees. So,
Well, I would compare to the previous year to see how we did last year on that, and I believe the budget was put together based on previous year trends. I could take a look at that. There's timing too, like the impact fees are due at a certain time, the building permits are due at a certain time, the pre-application stuff, you know, the plan review is due a little, you know.
yeah, because we're not actually collecting those impact fees until actual issuance of the permit. We're typically not collecting those in planning stages. Not even if we, you know, approve a short plat, we typically collect that fee as each house goes up. so collected with each house fee, or in a commercial application where they're doing a major remodel, a major reset on a commercial application, there'll be typically an impact study and fees due.
Yeah, for transportation impact fees, we received $201,000 last year. And so far this year, about $32,000. In 2023, we received $60,000. So it's volatile, it's not exactly a smooth revenue like property taxes or sales taxes,
Well, and obviously, I'm not going to be here for the future discussion of impact fees, but, in my mind, right, it sounds like we've got a formula issue there that we need to look at, right? Because what we certainly don't want to do, especially if they're volatile, is thinking that we have to triple the transportation impact fee to get back to a sustainable budget, and then have that anomaly come up where we're having a $600,000 a year, right? And we're massively overcharging for impact fees.
The consultant will base their decisions on, on the comprehensive plan and the future growth, and they'll do a calculation based. It's not necessarily based on the past trend of how we received it. They'll be looking at the future.
Well, I think the big deal is when you're doing the calculations for traffic impact studies for commercial, quite frankly, because that becomes, kind of a consultant opinion as to what the impact may be by, remodeling or adding a business, and that number of trips is directly correlated to that fee. So it'll be interesting to see how that breaks out between residential and commercial.
And we received $200,000 in parks impact fees last year as well. So the parks and the transportation were about the same, but they're pretty different for this year. So that's interesting. We should.
And they're even budgeted majorly different, and then.
Well, they're close. They're close. The what do you call it? The parks were budgeted at $90,000. Whereas the transportation was budgeted at $100,000. So it's close, but the amount of revenues is not as close. So it's just, Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the detail.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. So just to piggyback on this, David, could we maybe look at just the analytical piece of this and see, is this just truly a timing issue, or do we really have this difference? And then maybe just send an email out to council afterwards. Okay, great. Anything else, council, on this subject matter? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2035, budget amendment number 3, amending the 2025-2026 biennial budget and adopting an updated wage and salary schedule and plan of classification.
All right, we have a motion as recommended and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, we pass unanimously. Thank you very much. The next ordinance and resolution is ordinance number 2034, stay out of designated area, SOTA order. Introducing this topic tonight is our Chief of Police, Tony Slowick, as well as our City Attorney, Hillary Evans.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So we'll wait for my slide deck to show. So what we were talking about is making the fire truck blue. I asked, is it a blue fire truck? He said no. I was like, man, you really should make it blue. I don't know. Then I said we can just put a wrap on it. I don't know. Oh no, it's not a wrap like wiggity whack wrap. More like waka waka wrap. Is it not opening? There we go. Okay, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Chief Slowick. I'm here to talk about the Stay Out of Designated Court Order Ordinance. A little background is this presentation is in response to community and business requests to address an increase in illegal drug activity related to crimes in the Southwest Business District of the city. So there were several community engagement opportunities throughout the year. So we had a Pathways to Stability public forum on June 11th. I had multiple meetings with businesses in the Southwest Business District and also at Main Street, invited the public to come and talk with us as well. We had a presentation at City Council workshop on the 24th, and then a Police Community Advisory Board meeting. That was our last one. However, we have talked about the soda ordinance at several different CAB meetings. So a soda ordinance or soda order is a stay out of designated area court order, is the creation of a new court order for the City of Oak Harbor. The soda order is a court-ordered restriction that prohibits a person with drug-related criminal charge or conviction from entering a specific geographic zone. The history behind that is Everett has about 9 soda orders now. Goes back to 2007. There are several jurisdictions in Western Washington that have soda orders and are highly successful in implementing them and having the courts apply those orders. So the purpose behind it, the goals are to reduce repeat criminal behavior, increase public and business safety, provide enforceable tool for courts and the police, encourage rehabilitation outside the target zone. The ordinance overview, as discussed at the workshop, defines the designated area boundaries approved by City Council, authorizes district and superior courts to issue the soda orders, establishes penalties for violations, and allows law enforcement verification and a review process. We have this legal authority in RCWs 10.05 and RCW 10.64. Additionally, it provides consistent due process and equal protections for anyone who may have an order imposed against them, allows their public defender to be present, allows court proceedings to take place. It's also modeled after successful ordinances in other municipalities. So when we talk about the exclusionary zones, looking at all the data, these are the 2 zones that are proposed to City Council. They are the same, roughly the same geographic area. On both of the options, the north boundary is Southwest 8th Avenue. The east boundary is SR 20. The west boundary is Southwest Erie Street. The difference between option 1 and option 2 is that option 1, the south boundary is SR 20. Option 2, the south boundary is Southwest Bayshore Drive. So we'll talk about why the data supports one or the other, and this is a decision that we'll ask you to make if you support moving forward with this motion tonight. Before we move to the next slide, just a couple things to think about are in our workshop, there were comments made about grocery stores. Where are grocery stores? Are they all within the geographical boundaries, or what grocery stores are outside the boundaries? So in option 1, we have grocery outlet that's outside the geographic boundary, and also SARS Marketplace for grocery stores. Also, Walgreens Pharmacy is outside the geographic boundary for option 1. For option 2, there's only one grocery store, it's SARS Marketplace, and Walgreens is the pharmacy that's outside that zone. So this is the same call review data that I presented at City Council. So this is specifically the Southwest Barlow area. So in the 2 years, or 2022 through 2023, 3-year period, on Southwest Barlow Street, there were 27 calls for service. In the 2023 through 2025, there was 419 calls for service. My math was incorrect. Instead of it saying 1,452% increase in calls, it was actually 1,552%. So I shorted myself there a little bit, but that's a big number, big increase. 151 of those incidents is associated with drug activity in a quarter-mile radius, which is represented on those maps, and 57 of those incidents are specific to Southwest Barlow Street. Specifically for the medical calls, 29 medical CPR calls between 23 and 25. 55% are suspected overdose in immediate vicinity of Southwest Barlow Street, and 65% are suspected overdose in that quarter-mile radius of Southwest Barlow Street. Additionally, when we just talk about the strip of land that's between SR 20 and Southwest Bayshore Drive that has Woodby Island Bank or Heritage Bank, grocery outlet, Mod Pizza, Starbucks, 7-Eleven, Burger King, and the Verizon store and the car wash. We actually only saw a 15% increase in calls for service in those same time periods. So the difference is only 56 calls. So 56, we had 397 calls in the 2-year period. So 2022 through 2023, that 2-year period. The 2024 through current is 453 calls. So it's a 56% increase, or 56 calls for service increase, which is only 15%. Of those 15%, they're all associated with disorderly calls, suspicious calls, all that we can tie back to drug-related activity. So. And then here's the motion. And the only thing I would like to add to this motion is we have to select an option for a map, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Thanks, Chief, for that presentation. First, I will confirm with Julie that we've received no public comment on this matter.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Great. Thank you. And is there anyone that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right. Hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments at this time. Councilmember Stuckey.
Few questions. Some of them I've asked prior, but since we're voting on it, just good to touch on them.
Yep.
Am I correct in assuming that this, I mean, first of all, it's not automatic. It's through the prosecutor.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily going to be on every single drug violation. We're trying to get those that are more repeat offenders, more those that may be dealing, or like every drug violation this is going to be proposed for.
This is situational based off of the individual that is either arrested with a new drug charge or is convicted of a drug crime. And it is, it's really through the courts that they implement this through their probation department. And it's based off of what the judge feels is a necessary tool to reduce recidivism, right? Reduce the amount of drug activity we're having. So,
well, let's think about someone who may be dealing drugs. And in here, there are places where more vulnerable populations congregate.
Yeah.
Say there was someone who's dealing drugs who got this soda order. Is this discouraging them from just doing it somewhere else? I mean, you don't want to push them to a more residential area. I mean, they could just go behind Harbor Freight. Like, do you think that this will help reduce overall that sort of behavior throughout the city because they can't access the place where it'd be easiest to deal?
So I think that the data is what drives this. So we've had different businesses be throughout the city at different times. We're seeing a high concentration in this activity over this last 2-year period in this specific area that is tied to drug activity and drug usage. So I think if someone has this order applied to them, they won't be allowed to be in that area anymore. If they don't seek assistance with rehabilitation, stabilization, often mental health goes along with those things, then they continue to use. So they would have to use at a different location. So it would push people in different locations. However, it would be dispersing the activity that we currently see.
So when we look at the two options, I mean, basically one is adding Pioneer, that area. You said you had meetings with businesses in that area. Were those businesses, and specifically in the Pioneer area, favorable towards this?
So this doesn't add Pioneer Way at all. This
it's
actually,
to Bayshore.
This is really it's I think 5 businesses or 6, or actually probably more like 9 businesses.
Gotcha.
On that Southwest Bayshore strip.
Okay.
That's the difference.
And this soda area, you have to have data that supports it. I mean, there's some people who say, well, it should just apply to the whole city.
That's correct.
That probably could never hold up.
No, yeah, that would not hold up. I think that would be struck down, in court.
And I think you should also reference your meeting with the prosecuting attorney's office where they specifically address the fact that we have to have drugstores available to the population as well as grocery stores. That's why we
Certainly.
have the two different options available.
Yes,
that
sir.
leave them those amenities.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So along with the prosecutor's office, I've met with the public defender's office. I also met with the courts because after our workshop, I wanted to make sure that we had a usable tool that the courts would apply. The last thing we want, this is really a ordinance for the courts. The last thing we want is didn't want to do was create an ordinance that the court would never use because they felt like it was too restrictive or they felt like it was would not be applied properly. So those two things, just like the mayor said, that were brought up were grocery stores and also pharmacies that were discussed. The courts was very mindful of what that meant. The court does understand that they have the ability through this process to also modify the zone. So they could say, and let's just say, for example, if someone chooses option 2 and Woodby Island Bank is the location where this person banks, and that's the only bank they have in town, they could say you're allowed to go to that bank, right? Or if this included Department of Licensing, or DSHS or CPS, you can go to those locations because they're essential services. So just because there's pharmacies and grocery stores inside this zone doesn't make it essential services because there's options outside of the zone. So, and it's not our job to determine, or city council's job to determine what essential services is. That's the court will do that through their probation department. It's more of the looking at the data to decide if this is something you want to move forward with and what the zone would be.
And so pharmacy-wise, there's still Walgreens available under either option.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be it for pharmacies.
That's it currently, but
under both options.
We're seeing a great reduction in pharmacies in our community.
Yes, we
So
are.
That's,
Yes, we
that's
are.
nationally. You have all of the online pharmacies as well, and you have Island County Human Services. They have medical dispersion and all of that stuff as well that they support.
So I could go either way. I lean towards option 2, but I'm not firm towards option 2. I see merits for both, especially when you talk about the data. Just as a side note, and our city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but I brought this up last time that I do own a business in commercial real estate on Barlow. But it sounds like there's no issue with me voting on this because it's a broad enough area. I mean, if it was just Barlow Street, I probably would recuse myself. So I'll likely vote on this one way or another. So I appreciate taking the time.
Thank you.
Great, and I just wanted to add a quick point to piggyback on what Chief said, and then I'm calling you Councilmember Wisner. We worked with the courts as well as prosecuting office and the defending attorney's office to make sure that we had everyone's buy-in on this because our goal is to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that we're all working to a solution for the problem that we're experiencing here locally. So again, our efforts have been to work jointly in partnership with our other agencies. So with that, Councilmember Wisner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and thanks for bringing this forward, Chief. I know you and I and the mayor, we had talked about this about a year ago, and actually you had talked about the school zone ordinance is what we had referenced, right? And because I was around back when that came around, right, where we were trying to figure out how to keep drugs out of our schools, and the only way we could was to give another tool to the courts and the police officers to take the enforcement up a step in those zones. And I'm glad you were able to do the research with the legal department, come up with an option. Because here's my take on it, and I'm going to say option 2 and understand the reason for my take. And I think I've been pretty clear on this all along. The Spin Cafe obviously provides a service to the community. If they didn't provide it, somebody would have to provide it. And I think you and I have been in agreement on that. The issue we have is those people who prey on those people going there. They know the first of the month, right? And I'm going to be pretty frank here. We just had a loss in our community of a local person who suffered mental health issues and frequented Spin Cafe. And when was that? Right around the first of the month, right? And so the issue I see is with the commercial buildings, the nooks and the crannies, it's real easy to be a vehicle, sit there on the first of the month, wait for your prey to come to you, and you've got lots of little places to hide to do your business. And in my mind, that's what we're after. We're after the root of the issue. I think any commercial business within eyeshot of that area that would be a place where somebody could park a vehicle, be unnoticed because they're in a commercial development, that those folks are going to come walking by in order to go receive the services they need. That's the areas we need to focus on. I don't think it's going to push it into the residential area just because people live there. You know, people are going to notice somebody sitting in their driveway, sitting out front. But in this commercial area, a car can sit there all day long on the first of the month and just wait for the folks to come walking by and make the motion over, and there you go. So option 2 is my vote. I think, like, this is not going to be a solve-all. This is not a, hey, we fixed it, now we're done, thanks folks. This is just one more tool in the big toolkit. There's no more tools that need to be added. There's only so much we can do within the constraints of the law, but this is one more tool in the toolkit for both your officers as well as the courts. I'm assuming that when you go to court for prosecution, the courts do listen to some of the input and the testimony from your officers, and obviously it does make it so that they do have some influence on how this is implemented and how this is used, and you know, if it just stops one more death, if it stops you know, a couple of more calls each month because somebody has been given something that probably isn't good for them and just didn't have the wherewithal to be smart enough to say no. If it does that, then it's just one more tool that we can use, and it gets us just a little bit closer. But by no means do I think any of us here think that this is the solution to all the woes that are down there. But appreciate you bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. I also appreciate you saying that this isn't, you know, going to solve everything, because first of all, there isn't anything that's going to solve this problem. We're not going to solve the problem. What we're trying to do is work with neighboring communities, as well as mayors, city council folks, police chiefs, and figure out how we can be more proactive in our policing and policing our community and being less reactionary to things that are going on. So we're trying to take a more proactive approach now, and that's why we're bringing these things forward in the last couple of weeks. So with that, anything else from council? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
This whole subject touches a nerve, so I have to measure my words. So I would say option 2 is rather mild. Okay, I'm of the persuasion, I don't speak for the rest of the council, that really the predators ought to be in prison, the ones that do these kinds of things and destroy lives, and profit from it, and without any, I mean, they do it with glee. With respect to the movement of individuals, if you put enough pressure on them, it'll drive them out of the county and back to Portland or downtown Seattle or San Francisco. So I'm not mild-mannered about it because I've dealt with lit death, firsthand information. I mean, firsthand experience dealing with drug dealers and law enforcement, and they're predators. So, so my empathy is for those who are victims by them, and so I'm just delighted with this option 2 as a starting point. And I mean, from anecdotal observation, because although I don't profile, I know what I'm seeing as a prior law enforcement officer, and I guarantee you there's other neighborhoods that are having the same issues going on, even in broad daylight. So I would say that this is a good first step, being mindful of the fact that really there are upline drug dealers that are making hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, and regionally hundreds of millions and billions along the West Coast. And this is exactly how they operate. They come in and they prey upon the vulnerable, and even coerce people into getting addicted physically. So I don't want to over-dramatize the matter, but having had firsthand experience dealing with these folks, or these types of folks, I would say that the potential for ruining the livability of Oak Harbor is strongly there. And if they move to a different part of the city, then you can make another zone for them there. But you just keep putting the pressure on until it becomes so expensive they leave the county. But the idea of just ignoring it or putting a Band-Aid on it is not sufficient. And I think the Spin Cafe, though it serves a certain purpose, it also is a magnet for this kind of activity. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, I appreciate you looking into, providing opportunities still for people to go to the drugstore and grocery stores and such. You had mentioned that you had these meetings. The businesses that are south of SR 20 there, what is their take? Do they want to be included in this area?
Yeah, so the businesses that I heard most from is the property owner that owns grocery outlet, Mod Pizza, Starbucks, and that complex there. Very much wants to be included in this. 7-Eleven wants to be included in this. So that's the main core piece of that. I didn't hear directly from the bank or Burger King or anything like that, but.
Okay. In the overview, it says that the courts will establish the penalties for violations. What are those?
It's misdemeanor. So it's actually in the ordinance. Okay. It's established as a misdemeanor crime.
And what do you do for that? Do you ticket? Do you move them? I mean, what do you do?
So often that would be an arrest, but based on the situation of if it's just a contact inside the zone, more likely that's a booking, and then you release the person and give them a court date, and then notify probation. So.
Okay.
So it's not where they're going to jail most of the time. So if it's associated with other crimes, then that could escalate things. But we are very limited on the types of holds that we have because we don't have guaranteed bed space at Island County Jail.
And it's up to the courts. Multiple violations of this then could potentially lead to longer jail stays, or.
It also could be mandatory drug treatment. It could be conditions on probation. Could be they have several other tools available to them. Talking with the courts, they felt like they saw this as a tool for them to use. So they were appreciative that the council was considering the courts and what they have to do, because they have a mandate from the Washington State Supreme Court to be less restrictive. And so that's why often people get arrested and then are released and aren't held. And so that's challenging for them. And there's different mechanisms that they have, but they're just, the fact that they have a new tool is they were appreciative of that.
Okay. Use Everett as an example. They started with 1 and now they have 9. Is the reason that they have 9 because it kind of forced it out of that one area and into other areas, and so now they're finding that the problem has just spread, and then they're having to address that by adding more areas? Or?
Yeah, so I think one reason for that is since the first ordinance first SOTA went in place in 2007, Washington State decriminalized drug possession for about an 18-month period. And then when they brought it back as a criminal offense, it's now a misdemeanor or a district court level offense. And so that with homelessness, mental health issues, all of these things, they're trying to figure out how to rehabilitate a lot of their business communities, and those are pocket communities. And so they're just using that data to drive those SOTA ordinances.
Okay. Yep. And then my last question is, if I remember correctly from my time at ICOM, there are some people that use that Barlow address as their address. I don't know if they get mail there. I mean, so how does that affect their ability to get mail or use that address or?
So everyone has the ability to do general delivery at the post office. The post office is actually essential services.
Okay.
Spin is a day shelter with limited hours that they operate. So they operate from 6 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. The other day shelters that we have in the city limits of Oak Harbor are the center, that's actually a day shelter. The library, that's a day shelter. So people have the opportunity to go to other locations to stay warm. They don't have to go to Spin.
Okay.
And there's bus services to all those other locations that they have access to.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you, Chief. I will be supporting option 2.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. Anybody else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
One last question. I think you touched on it before, but I don't remember if there's a firm answer. So somebody gets one of these soda orders. Are they just, if they're in the area again, are they just caught by an officer seeing them? Will businesses know who these individuals, like what's the mechanism?
Yeah, we are not posting, we are not going to post. There are some jurisdictions that actually post the list of people who have a soda order and they post it on their website. I would not recommend that at all for us. I think we want to treat people with dignity and respect. I don't think that's a way to do that. Officers have that access to all of that data through our criminal justice system. The courts actually issue that court order information and put it in the criminal justice system so that sheriff's deputies, state patrol, state parks, city police, all can access that data and verify that it's accurate and up to date.
So there's no ask from the businesses, and the businesses likely will not know who's on it.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, it is matter of public record and, but.
Great, thank you. Anything else? All right, hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry, I have a question about the motion.
Oh, sure.
Or potential motion, recommended action. The motion adopting the ordinance doesn't indicate one way or the other which map we're using.
I think
how
we
do you
need
want
to
us handle
add,
that?
I think we need to add which map at the end of that you want to add to it.
Gotcha, adopting, okay,
Yeah.
map option, okay.
Yeah, I apologize, that's my mistake.
No worries, I just want to make sure we get it right, and it's not
100%.
ambiguous when we do it. Councilmember Marshall asked my only question was, how do the difference between option 1 and 2, how the businesses feel about it, and so hearing that the ones that you've talked to are in favor of being included in the zone is what put it over the edge for me, so I would also lean towards option 2. So, is someone encouraging me? Okay, all right. Yes. I get the hint. I move to adopt ordinance number 2034 with map option 2, Oak Harbor Municipal Code, Chapter 6.30, stay out of designated areas orders.
Second the motion.
We have a motion as presented with option 2, map 2, by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Marrow. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? All right, hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief, for that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, next we're going to move on to Resolution 2527, establishing City of Oak Harbor 2026 legislative priorities. Here to introduce this topic is our Communications Officer, Maggie Aguilar.
I was in there. Hi, good evening. All right, I will wait for it. All right, I will be presenting on behalf of Wendy. She is out today, our grants administrator. My name is Maggie Aguilar. Again, good evening, Mayor and Council. All right, so the last time I was here, we had some revisions on legislative priorities, and we will go over those revisions today. I'm pressing, and nothing is happening. Okay. So, public safety, the first slide, we did make a revision on the second bullet point for advocate for funding subsidies to support access to integrative health care, which basically means both mental and physical health care and basic needs. There we go. We didn't make any changes to this slide, housing and child care availability. As to this slide as well, we didn't make any changes. This slide we did change significantly based on your feedback. We initially had this slide as infrastructure investment and modified it to planning for growth. And we also changed the 2 bullet points on the bottom to advocate for foot ferries and increase reliable ferry service to existing routes, and also added long-term planning for Deception Pass Bridge and water lines based on your feedback. This page was also modified based on your feedback. We initially had it described as invest in our community, and now it is revised to economic development. And the third bullet point, was modified to facilitate and encourage investments in development projects within the city of Oak Harbor. We did not make any modifications to public records management. And then, based on your feedback, we included supporting NAS Whidbey Island active duty veterans and their families. So the next steps for our legislative priorities, obviously, would be your approval. We would update the website with the 2026 priorities, and then send them to state legislators, Association of Washington Cities, and the governor's office. And then I'd create the individual priority sheets that would be taken to that would be distributed, also taken to legislators, and then we would create folders for Olympia, for action days, and legislative and Washington, D.C. visits next year. And your recommended motion is on the screen.
Great, Maggie. Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
I will first confirm with Julie that we've received no public comment on this issue.
Yes, Mayor, we received no comments.
Great, thank you. And is there anyone here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will then move on to council questions and comments. But before I do, I just wanted to add, I wasn't here last week for the workshop as you guys were discussing this. And one of the things that I will continue to advocate for with other mayors and partnering cities and neighboring cities, as well as through our county commissioners, is there have been significant rate increases as it relates to ferries, and we're working diligently to see if there's any way that we can get them to reconsider some of these rate increases, because it's becoming very cost prohibitive for folks that live here to be able to utilize the ferry system. So just wanted to make that known to you guys as well. That is something that's on my agenda that I'm working on a weekly basis. So with that, council, questions, comments at this time? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
Thank you, Maggie, for the improved edits on the on the resolution.
Sure.
I would be supportive of it as it is. I did want to mention, too, that you were selective, or you and your team were selective in not being so full of detail that it became just a burden to deal with, and rather, but still specific enough to be useful. And then going forward, there would be more detail, but not in this form. Is that what I understand to be the case?
Yes, that would be the case. So there'll be individual sheets that will be created with a lot more detail and some more examples. But I appreciate your feedback, because that helped a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I think it's, I don't want to use the word perfect, but because things rarely are, but it's pretty perfect. I have no notes. It's pretty perfect. Thank you. The last version, there was a couple things I looked on, and I thought, my immediate thought was, what does that even mean? And I didn't think that once when looking through the revised list. It's,
Oh, good.
general enough to cover a lot of territory, but specific enough that you know what the ask is or what the priorities are. So I love it. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate the changes and the edits, and there's only one thing I don't want to over wordsmith this, right? But I guess I am a little confused about on economic development. Advocate for change to state regulations regarding economic development activities. What kind of changes to make it easier to have public-private partnerships, to make it easier to find funding? I mean, what change to state regulations it just says regarding economic development. It doesn't say to increase it, to assist it, to make it easier to create, you get it, right? So as somebody sitting down in Olympia, I'd look at that and I just don't quite know what I would propose on the House floor that would help you with that particular item. So
I'll jump in here and help out. So Wendy, unfortunately, is out sick, and she had a lot more detail on this, but dealing with grants, we have found that there are some limitations in the way that we can do public and private partnerships. So what we want to do is advocate around changing some of those rules and structures so that we have more opportunity to do that, and it's less restrictive.
And that's why I kind of mentioned that item first, right? So the reality is, I think, advocate for changes to state regulations regarding economic development activities to encourage public-private partnerships, right? It shouldn't be two, it's really one bullet point, right? It's not two separate bullet points.
Ordinance, it is a single sentence.
Okay, well, I was just looking at the bullet slide, yeah, but you're right.
Yeah, I think in the bullet slide, we tried to break it down a little bit more so it was a little bit easier to read on the slides.
Yeah, you have it as two separate sentences. I think just adding the word "to" in there, because it's two separate sentences, it's two separate statements. And if you say to facilitate and encourage investment in projects in the city of Oak Harbor.
Okay.
So, but thank you for the edits. Like I told you before, not an easy task to take a million things that we come up with all year long and actually convert it into a list that somebody can look at and not fall asleep during the middle of. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We'll make that change. That makes sense.
All right, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion. Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I move to approve Resolution 25, TAC 27, establishing the City of Oak Harbor 2026 legislative priorities.
Second.
We have a motion as presented by Councilmember Romero, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Before I call for a vote, is there any further discussion on this matter? All right, hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're moving right along onto contracts and agreements. We have a new Community Development Director Employment Agreement coming before you, and here to introduce this is our Human Resources Director, Emma House. And I would just like to recognize our potentially new, Community Development Director. Stephanie is with us, so great to see you. Stacy, right? Stacy, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Good evening. Emma House, Human Resources Director. And I am here tonight to give you an employment update on the Community Development Director position. So, moving on to the background of where we were at with this recruitment. It started in May 2025. We opened up the recruitment. We received several candidates. As we moved through the interview process, we did recognize that we didn't really have the exact fit that we needed to meet our needs. We did reclassify the position from Development Services Director to Community Development Director. We reopened that recruitment in September and again received a number of applications. We overall received over 5,000 clicks on our website for this recruitment, which is outstanding, and we received a total of 56 candidates altogether. So a very attractive recruitment, and we were very excited about how many people that were very qualified that were interested in working for our city. November 14th was when we conducted the 3 finalist candidate interviews, and I would like to give our sincere appreciation and thanks to Sabrina Combs for stepping up to be the interim director during this time. I also would like to thank those who have participated in the review process of rating candidates and also the interview panel. Thank you to Steve Schuler, Alex Warner, David Goldman, and also Mayor Pro Tem Heisen. Thank you so much for your participation. And tonight we have Stacy here with us. We are presenting the employment agreement, and she is available to answer any questions that you may have. A brief description and bio on Stacy and where she came from. She has a master's and a bachelor's in anthropology from Western Washington University. She's a registered professional archaeologist. She is certified AICP, and she guest lectured in urban planning and anthropology at Western Washington University. She regularly contributes to the Department of Commerce short course on local planning, and she most recently was the Community Development Director for the City of Mount Vernon. We're very excited to have Stacy here tonight to answer any questions. She is scheduled to begin employment next Friday, December 12th.
Great. Thank you, Emma, for that presentation. And then I will just confirm with Julie quickly that we received no public comment on this.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
All right. And is there anyone here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment at this time? All right. Seeing, hearing no one, I will move on to council questions and comments at this time. Here's your opportunity. Councilmember Stuckey.
So I'm going to begin the 2-hour interview right now. No.
Exciting.
Two questions.
Yes, sir.
Why here?
Why here? So at this point in my career, I was looking for a new opportunity after spending 2.5 years at Mount Vernon. One of the things that attracted me to Oak Harbor was the work on the waterfront redevelopment. That's work I've done before in my career, sub-area planning, and also work specifically in waterfront and downtown redevelopment. I know that you've got that work coming up and was excited to be a part of that, so that's one of the reasons. Second reason was a little bit more personal. I'm very familiar with the area. I come from a military family. My family spends time out at NAS Whidbey, at the RV park, enjoying time out there. So I do have an appreciation for the area and the community as well. So for those 2 reasons, I wanted to go ahead and put in my application and see if it might be the right fit.
And you mostly answered the question, but I'm curious if, in looking at our community and things that we're working on, if there's any particular passion, I don't want to say room for improvement in our city. I'm sure there always is. I'm trying to be nice here. But any areas that you think need particular focus or things that you're excited about project-wise?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So certainly in every jurisdiction, in every department, there is always room for us to be better and do better. We talked about some of those items when we were in the interview. I think where I can be of the most immediate service and help is with the periodic update to the comprehensive plan. I know that is a challenging lift for so many cities right now, especially for small and mid-sized cities. I came from a city that it may sound like cold comfort, but is also working very hard and is, sometimes it's a heavy lift to do that kind of planning when you have, certain resources and you're not a big city. And so I think I've got a lot of experience and would be excited to help this city do that kind of planning. Because of your size and because you are the size you are on the island, you are carrying the burden of responsibility for planning for a lot of the housing within the next 20 years on the island. And I think I've got exactly the background and experience that could be of help in getting that done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. You and I actually met about 2 years ago, right after you started in Mount Vernon. I was over working on a project, and we were having some pretty heated discussions with some of the staff, and you had just started and were the calm voice in the room. So I appreciate that. So you never
I'm
know
glad
who
to
you're
hear that.
You never know who you're going to run into again. And I will say, you know, I'm familiar with some of the stuff you did over the 4 years up in Blaine.
Sure.
Right. And I do think, you know, especially some of the waterfront projects and stuff, you know, are really going to be fairly similar to some of the things
I believe so too.
we're dealing with here. And obviously, you're from this neck of the woods. You understand the Growth Management Act, you know, and probably like me are tired of opening that big book. Well, we don't open the big book anymore. We look at it online. But back in 1999, we actually had a big book. When it first came out.
Right.
Yeah.
I still love a good paper copy.
Yeah.
Compliments, so I'll go with that.
But yeah, excited to have you come on board. Excited for the fresh insight on some of the challenges we face, and you know,
Thank you.
Just excited for the future.
Yeah, thrilled to join. If you decide to sign the contract tonight, thrilled to join the team and get to know your planners. I've met your public works director. I think we'll have fun working.
Well,
on
sorry
some
about
projects
that.
together. Well, you know, I mean, he introduced himself. What was I going to do? Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
Thanks for stepping forward, Stacey.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. Yes, Councilmember Romero.
So, Stacy, you come with such a reputation of support from those in the selection process. I know anecdotally that you already have very big shoes to fill. So just to let you know, the bar has been set high for you already.
Okay.
But that's just a friendly update, and we're delighted to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Anyone else? Comments, questions? I just want to say, so glad to have you be a part of the team once they make this official tonight. You come very highly recommended.
Thank you.
And we're very excited for what you're going to bring to the city and be a part of our administration. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yes. With that, I would entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement with Stacy Prashner as the Community Development Director for the City of Oak Harbor.
Second.
We have a motion as presented by Councilmember Wiesner, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote on this issue? All right, hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Welcome to the team. Thank you. And we're excited to see you next week.
Thank you.
You hit the ground running next week for the director's retreat. So. All right, so we've got a couple more items. We're almost there. Other items for consideration. We have intent to commence annexation proceedings for Mangat. Introduce Principal Planner Rajesh Kamak to present.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Here to present the Mangat annexation. I have a short presentation. In your packet, we have included a lot of information. There's a lot of history related to this project, and I'll cover some of that in my presentation. And I'll try to keep it short and brief, and then open it up for questions and discussion, and have the council have the opportunity to meet with the applicant. So that I'll jump in. As I mentioned, there's some history with this property and their annexation request. We've had 3 other requests from them in the past. One in June 2014, another in 2017, and another in 2023. And as you can see, in the first round, the annexation actually resulted in a denial. And if you look closely at the report and the supporting documentation, it was done on purpose so that the applicant will have the full authority to go to the county to pursue permits. So the interlocal agreements talk about some certain set of procedures for properties in the UGA, and so when they go to the county to get permits, their first comment to them should be, go talk to the city, try to get annexed into the city, try to get services, and if they don't annex you in, then come back to us, and we'll be able to provide all the permits. So that denial is very critical so that it gives the property owner and the applicant the chance to work with the county and pursue any improvements there. So I think that first step, the denial, was meant to actually facilitate that. So 2017, 2023, the applicants pursued annexation again. And as you can see, in both those instances, the council did think that there was potential to see if there's any work that could be done. And in both instances, it did not result in any annexation, primarily because I think the requirements are pretty extensive in terms of what needs to be done. And the costs are also pretty high. So this is the fourth attempt, and I think in my documentation, I'll have a map here of the property. This is a property that has frontage on Oak Harbor Road. It's between Goldie and Oak Harbor in the valley, and it's 3 properties, about 19 acres or so. So what makes this property challenging? So currently the property is designated as industrial in our future land use map. And so if this property were to be annexed into the city, that's what you would designate it as. And I'm going to give you a little history of why this is designated industrial. This was the only change that has happened between 2014 when they first annexed, requested annexation, and now, is there was a land use change that happened. The previous land use was PRE, which is Planned Residential Estate. And if you look at the map, and I'll go back to this, the PRE was a very special designation in the UGA, and it was only for certain properties, and it encompasses all these 5-acre properties that we see west of Oak Harbor Road. And this designation was intended to keep all of these properties in the county because they were just anomalies. When the UGA was created and the industrial zones were created, they surrounded this property, and this property was just anomaly. And we have the 16th Avenue alignment right here, and all of these properties are north of there. And so with the adoption of the comprehensive plan, with the 16th Avenue alignment and no residential north of there, these were all just designated to stay in the county as long as possible, because that's where the property owner and the applicant or any user of the property can benefit the most. Because if they come into the city, they'll actually have more restrictions or higher requirements to face. So it's kind of a unique situation, and I think that's why we have this repeat scenario in this case. So in order to actually help with redevelopment, I think the property was designated industrial. So now the property owners have a chance. So PRE is a very limited designation. Their existing use was non-conforming even in the PRE zone because their density was already higher. We're talking about those 5-acre lots. That was the density that was designed for those PREs. So they were non-conforming in both land use designations. So the industrial designation was, again, another way for the city to help transition this property over the long term into a more viable use. So it's zone industrial, and the current use is non-conforming. The current use is also, as mentioned, non-conforming in location. And what I mean by that, it's just north of 16th, and we are trying to restrict any housing encroachment onto the base, and therefore that's been a hard line that we've been holding, and I think we should consistently hold that line in order to protect the greater Oak Harbor from long-term impacts. And there's also noise impacts in this area. So annexation into the city would also require uses in these structures to be upgraded for life safety, building requirements, access roads, emergency services. All of these are extensive investments. And again, this use is non-conforming, so to require these investments just because you come into a city, into a non-conforming use, is fairly a high investment cost for a non-conforming use. So if you look at all the financials, I think the better scenario for the applicant is to actually stay in the county and work with the county, make some short-term investments, and then have a long-term plan to transition to industrial. So that's the basic summary and the kind of logic behind and the policies kind of drive us to these to this analysis. So I have this is as per the state legislation. When somebody requests for an annexation, they meet with the city council. The city council has full discretion. There's no requirements here to either accept, deny, or take no action in this case. And if you take no action in this case, you're basically just leaving it in the county. Your first denial still applies, so they will continue to work with the county, and that's the kind of statement that you would make tonight with those with the choice of motions that you have. So with that, I will turn it back to the council, have a meeting with the applicant, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, CAC, for your presentation. And first, I will confirm with Julie that we've received no public comments on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No comments from the public were received.
All right, and I will request anyone who is here present this evening, if you have public comment, please step forward and state your name and your comments, and limit them to 3 minutes, please.
Mayor, Council, David Toyer with Toyer Strategic Advisors. We're a land use and economic development consulting firm located in Everett, and we are here on behalf of the initiators of the annexation, the Mangets. Just wanted to, our firm has worked on a lot of different annexations with communities over the years, everything from a couple of acres up to over 1,000 acres. And each of those comes with a level of complexity that needs to be addressed. Some have required pre-annexation development agreements, others have not. And obviously, based on what's here in the past and the issues that were presented by staff, there are a lot of complex issues that need to be addressed. I would think, we've not been a part of this process with the client any time in the past when they've brought forward their request for annexation. But, for the average person, those items on that list, it's a pretty daunting thing to take a look at and try to figure out what's the next step. And that's really where we fit into the process and why they've come to us for assistance in moving forward with the annexation and trying to make a legitimate go of it with going through the process. That being said, my client happens to be not present right now. They're out of the country. The staff report was issued last week, although the list of some of the items that were brought up by staff came out before that. I haven't had a chance to fully go through that with my client and come to some idea of providing them guidance on what all of this means. We would like to be able to have the opportunity to move forward and proceeding with this process, but I think the most important thing from staff's memo to council, and I think the most important thing I'd like to point out is this is really just a first step in a very long process. Annexations can typically take 7 to 9 months to up to a year and a half in some of the cases that I've been a part of before, and there's a lot that needs to be worked out, and really the action tonight is to create the opportunity for that to be worked on in partnership between my client and the city in trying to move the annexation application forward and deal with these various different issues. With that, at the end of the day, the situation that's on the property with the non-conforming use and the mobile homes and some of the issues that need to be addressed with septics and the wells, that's being worked on. My client has retained a couple of other folks to assist with that. We're not professionals in expertise in septics or wells, and so they've got to rely on other experts for those things. But regardless of what they do to solve those challenges, long term, there's going to need to be a process that unfolds between the property owner and the city to come to some level of an agreement as to what this looks like in the future. And so we'd really ask for your time.
Mr. Torre, thank you very much. That is the end of your 3 minutes.
Okay.
Great, Mr. Toy, thank you very much. So at this time, I will turn it, or I'll first make sure that there are no additional questions or comments from anyone here present this evening. All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments at this time. Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you, Mayor. So, CAC, jump in here anytime with what my thoughts are. I think the biggest challenge here, you know, and one of the reasons, because I was here the last time we went through this, and so that's why I'm jumping in, right? Because I think it's pertinent for maybe some of the other council members who don't have the background. I think the last time we passed on this annexation, right, is because we still didn't, as a city, grasp where this whole thing was going to go because of the existing residential use in a planned industrial park designation. And even though we've changed the verbiage of that designation, this is still industrial land, and it's an industrial land by city code that we wouldn't even have the ability to change at this moment in time because there's an ordinance that forbids us from redesignating residential north of 16th Avenue. Is that correct? So, first thing, you know, so if we move forward with the annexation now and have the discussions, all those discussions have to be around the industrial zoning and the future non-conforming established use of the existing homes that are in that park and that are all owned by individual park owners. I think the Magnats own 2 of the homes in there. The rest of them are all owned by individual property owners who would not have the ability to possibly do any upgrades. You know, we have a code, another code in the city ordinance that's anytime you do more than 40% of a structure's value, you have to come to current code. Current code would mean removing the house because there's no way you would make a current code in an industrial zone. So if we were to proceed with annexation, and this is, I think, where last time we said, hang on just a sec, we can't do this to the Magnats, right? And they weren't present for that meeting also, that we didn't feel comfortable moving forward with the annexation without understanding that they understood what this all meant. Because obviously if we proceed with the annexation, we don't have the ability to proceed with the annexation under any other zoning than the zoning we currently have based upon the ordinance that we have. We certainly could change it, I guess, to another zone, but it wouldn't be a residential zone or anything allowing residential. And so, I mean, what comes, and here's the challenge, I guess, for the consultant here, right, for them. We proceed with this annexation, it comes in as industrial, there is no guarantee of a rezone. I mean, the reality is, there's nobody up here that can say that this body is going to pass a new ordinance that's going to allow that rezoning until we go through all the public comment period. I think that one, quite frankly, would require a SEPA, probably. That's a pretty major change if we were to remove that ordinance that then would open up the possibility of a discussion of a rezone. But once the annexation is done, it's done, and whatever zone is associated with it is what they've got, and there's no guarantee of any rezoning in the future. Yet, to sit down and discuss about rezoning property that's not in the city, that's in the county, that's not in our forte either. I don't think there's anything in the Growth Management Act that lets us sit down and rezone county property. I mean, certainly we have designations with the county. We've designated areas the enterprise zone. We have the UGA designation that we agreed to with the county. But that process would actually have to start at the county, if I'm not mistaken, to get a rezone discussion started, not with the city. But then once it's annexed into the city, then it's our discussion to have. But at that point, it's zoned industrial, and there's no guarantees that that's going to change. So I think that's the challenge we have, right, is if we act as a body and move this forward and consider the Magnat's request, and we just take out of the whole conversation the future of water, the future of sewer and all that, and understand that once they're in the city, they have the ability, to make those connections if they want to fund those or however that is. But if we make that determination now and we move forward, are we just setting them up for failure? My understanding, there's no way to unravel the annexation. So that's the thing that me as a council member is going to struggle with. I don't know that there's a thought-forward plan that really addresses that part of the issue. Again, aside from the city's concern about taking on a manufactured home park with failing septics and failing water lines and infrastructure that is below city standards, and how the city, could be having to take some of that on as ownership. Certainly we can deal with some of that through pre-annexation agreements, and come to a way to address the city's concerns with that infrastructure. But how do we deal with this whole, that is now going to be industrial land, and ultimately, is that what the Magnats want? Are they planning on redeveloping this as an industrial product? And all the senses we get from each of these submittals is that is not the case, that they want to continue operating as a residential mobile home park, but then that sets up every one of their property owners some of those houses in there, I imagine structural values, probably tax assessed at $20,000, $15,000. There's probably even some that are less than that. So none of those people would be able to do permitted repairs exceeding $5,000 on their home without removing their home from the space. And am I reading all this right?
Somewhat. I mean,
your turn.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for providing a lot of some of the challenges that the previous councils have had with this, and the and the crux of the issue here. And it's a hard place for the property owners to be, I see. And in their letter, they've clearly intended to keep this as residential and as is, and that's the most challenging. And from the city's perspective, if that is what your long-term plan is, it's still better off in the county, because even financing can be an issue when you're in the city because you're non-conforming. So, you come into the city, you're non-conforming. How do you get financing for improvements if you need so? So, I think in a lot of ways, that's what we're trying to say. The best help you can do is to have them in the county, and the best thing they can do, I think, in the long term, is to gradually think about what they're going to do over a 10, 20-year period in terms of transitioning into industrial. It has to be a long-term plan. There are no quick fixes. It's been 10 years, as you can see, of working, and the county has been involved in it as well. I think they'll find more solutions in the county than they will over here. That's my take, to keep the existing use continuing. Coming into the city, non-conforming, continuously there'll be a drain, because we'll want them to be up to standard, building-wise and emergency services-wise and so on. And so there'll be some constant interaction here in a non-conforming use, continually being asked to make improvements on their property when they're non-conforming. So it's just I don't know if you want to get into that situation that may not have a very good solution So there are options now. And you want to try and still keep those options open and explore them. I think your options get a little more limited. That's how we feel with the rules that we have and the restrictions that we have.
And looking back at their 2017 request, for example, it's the exact same request. It's the exact same letter. None of our codes have changed. Nothing has changed other than the problem has precipitated to the point where I understand the county is putting pressure on them. And this is a move of good faith on their part that they're trying to move the ball forward because of that pressure, and I get that. But I don't think anything's changed since 2017, and I think, again, my concern is I don't know that the property owner totally understands that what their long-range vision is not doable under, this is not going to get them to what they have at least have communicated to us is what their long-term plan is. And I think that the last time we turned down this annexation was for that exact reason, was quite frankly for their benefit, that we were trying to be good stewards and you know, I mean, let's face it, the city annexes into city property, the city makes more money, we get some property tax revenue, right? And that's how cities grow, right? As we annex land, and we've always talked about this is how our city grows, is by letting it grow naturally. Developers come in and put in infrastructure. This is our plan for growth. Yes. So for us, you know, certainly we could just move forward with this, take the taxes, and then tell them, hey, you can't do anything with your land when it comes to residential, and you know, here's the hard truth. But you know, I don't think that's in looking out for their best interests. They have been, you know, members of our community, even though they don't live in the Salems. They've been members of our community for 10 years, and I think that's the problem we had in 2017, and I think that exact same problem persists today.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think the city is looking to annex properties in the UJ. We want all of the properties to come into the city, have city services. We plan for services in the UGA. So it is challenging. It is a very difficult position to be in when we make recommendations like this. It is a very challenging situation. It's not normal. It is not something that we do for every annexation. We support annexation. We want them to have urban services and be part of the city. I think that is the overall policy's direction. And so it makes it really difficult to make these recommendations in these challenging situations.
I think it's my time on council, this has been the only annexation request that I can think of that we have ever declined. And I just want to make sure, you know, everybody's clear. We're actually really, you know, thinking ahead and looking out for the property owners here. And the challenges are the challenges that not only they face, but we as a city face. I just don't know that the county or the city necessarily are interested in having that conversation with the Navy either, right? Because that is part of that conversation that would have to take place. Gosh, it seems to me like we approached that several years back. Well, we approached it when the city purchased the property on the corner of Yakima Road, I think, and ultimately we know how that ended up. I don't think the Navy would be too thrilled about that conversation, but you know, if that conversation needs to take place first, and that probably needs to take place first, I think there's some things being kind of done in a different order.
So you're aware preliminary discussions have been held and they're not amenable to us?
And that I would suspect that to have been the case, yeah. And so there's a challenge, and again, I think we're faced with a decision where we need to be human beings, and we need to be looking out for these folks, because I'm just not convinced that they know what's ahead of them.
And one thing I will add is that we're in this comp plan process right now, and part of that is we're working with the county to do some really strategic long-term planning that we've talked to you about. We don't have all of it yet, and we're working on it, but CAC has been working really hard with our county counterparts and making sure that, we're doing that planning and thinking about those properties and how we address both developed and undeveloped areas in the UGA. So I think that's a bigger conversation, and we've identified those properties on a map and how that works, as well as the work that we're doing with Public Works. So I think that's a bigger side conversation, and this, when we talk about annexations, that's the work that staff has really been focused on, is under the comp plan.
Because at the end of the day, if I'm not wrong, there were 12 or 14 more of these that we're faced with, potentially. Communities, right? Is that right?
What's that? I'm sorry.
For the areas that we're talking about, I think it's Area 5.
Aren't there's I don't know, there's 10, 12, 14, I don't know what the exact number is. It's been a very long day, you guys.
Oh, pockets of property, yeah. County pockets in the city, yeah.
So you're talking like Hillcrest and those areas?
Yeah.
We've identified them on a map. We have the Area 4 that we're talking about sooner, and then the Area 5 that we're talking about for the future.
All right, thank you, CAC. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Councilmember Wiesner. Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
You can almost count your time on council by how many of these you've gone through. Mayor Pro Tem, you've been through all three, I think. So I think you hold the crown. I've only been on one. I'm assuming the property owner is not online. No. See, I mean, that's part of what disappoints me. This is the thing from last time. If you're that serious, you could dial in. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, that part to me. So, just so I'm clear, you are not recommending, from a staff position, because this is what you work with all the time, you're not recommending annex. That's kind of everything I've gleaned from you, but that's
Yes.
the case. Okay. Do we know anything about the people living at that property, not the magnets, how they feel about it? Do we have any idea? Have we received feedback from them? Right, but additionally since then, have we had... Because I guess my concern mostly is for those residents living in those homes and what they're going to do for things like water. What would it take to provide utilities and not annex? Because I know we've had discussions, but what would it take to provide utilities but not annex?
So water is something that the city provides for properties even outside the city that are not not within the city. So water is one of the services that sometimes is available and is likely available to the property owners. But I think in the report we mentioned what the cost could be even if you do provide that. So water is likely is a service that the city has and has provided to properties in the UGA. However, sewer is a different question, and that is something that the city has policy-wise held for only properties that do annex into the city. And there's a lot of pros and cons about that policy. And again, those pockets and all of those will come into discussion if we start to talk about providing services to properties in the UGA without annexation, which basically then will create many other complications because you're providing sewer into the county, in the county areas, which then starts to have different implications for UGAs and UGA capacities, which then can lead to creating higher density growth in the UGAs without annexation. So this will create almost like a dual city kind of a situation because over time, once you start to provide sewer into the UGA, and this is something that other counties in Washington have done in the past and are finding it very, very challenging today to try and I wouldn't say control growth, but to organize growth in a systematic way without environmental consequences. So providing sewer to the UGA prior to annexation has a lot more consequences in the long run. So that's a big policy that should be discussed before considering. So
You have to look at what we're going to potentially be doing too. The cost associated with this will be between $3 and $5 million that we're going to be putting on the back of our citizens that live within the city limits now. We're going to be improving somebody's value on their property that isn't going to be annexed into our city and offering them a service that's also probably not going to be affordable to them. This is affordable housing right now to these folks, but when they connect into our sewer, their utility bill is going to triple. It's no longer affordable to them. It's going to become 25 to 33% of their monthly living expenses.
And I agree, and I could imagine that a lot of those people didn't want to be. I guess I'm just getting stuck up on, and I just glanced at the packet. I did not see it. It may be in there. Just the water component, because you talked a lot about sewer. You touched on water.
The sewer's the problem. The sewer is the bigger problem.
Oh no! I was going to ask you to allow, because I'm going. A lot of what I've heard from the residents, what I've seen, which what you see in the media is not always like, but a lot of it seems to stick with the water. So you're saying if they were able to provide water, just ignore the cost for a second, which obviously is a big part of the conversation. Providing them water, but not sewer, would not do anything. Is that what you're? Because you've been in these meetings, and so.
They're living in unclean situations right now as a result of the sewage that is seeping up from their failed septic systems. That's the chronic issue for them right now, more than water. You can go to the store and get a 5-gallon bottle of water and drink that. You don't have to drink the water that's coming into but they can't do anything about the sewage that is happening on the land that those trailers are on.
In your meetings, has the county, because you were at a couple meetings with the commissioners, are they pushing for us to annex? Are they trying to say, have this become your issue?
The county is not pushing for them to annex, but the county is working with the property owner to address the current issues. They have, I believe it's a December 31st deadline for them to address some of those items.
Correct.
We have also asked that they continue to work with them. The county also met with the tenants of the mobile home park to talk about this. A couple months ago, they had a meeting at the library and they talked about, what's going on with public health, what the requirements are, what they're asking the property owner to do. But it is a water and sewer issue, and sewer is the primary thing that drove these initial conversations, I want to say a year and a half ago, when we started these discussions.
So, because I don't think you answered the question, does the county, in your conversation, does the county seem to want them to annex into the city? Do they think that that's the best option for them?
No, the county is not, I wouldn't say the county is giving a recommendation related to annexation. Their focus is the public health aspect of it. What they are pleased with is that the city has outlined a list of options of what could be pursued. So Steve Schuler, myself, and one of our attorneys sat down and outlined what were the options to pursue to move forward. And in all of these conversations, we've been very clear about annexation is not guaranteed. It does not address the issue. You still have a water and sewer issue that has to be addressed. And anything related to that from the city would take years. This isn't a turn on a pump and it's done. This is a lot of infrastructure work that has to be done. The other thing that Steve Schuler's done a good job of educating us about is that it's in a valley, meaning it's literally in a hole, and there's work that has to be done to get that material in and out of that system. So there's a lot of aspects to this issue.
So to Sabrina's point, when we met with the county commissioners as well as the landowners, one of the biggest things was they were putting the parameter of 1231 on them, and we were very clear that there was nothing that we would be able to do as a city that would be able to meet that deadline. So what we did was we laid out all of the facts and circumstances and options to them, and then made the county part of that. And the county still, I think, insistent that they have this rectified by 1231. Is that correct? So
that's correct.
There's absolutely nothing we can do about that.
Because I have no problem with denying this request again based on everything that's there. I'm just making sure if there's anything that we can do.
No, we have tried.
Short of an annex, to help the people living there. That's my main concern, not the magnets. It's the people living there, and yeah, we'll just keep the dialogue going.
Yeah, we've tried. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Kat, just to be clear, we denied the annexation in 2015, but in 2023, we didn't flatly deny it, right? We allowed for the conversation to continue, and then they just failed to continue the conversation. So I guess that's what I'm struggling with right now is why would we not allow, this is the first time in 2023, nobody showed up, right? They have a gentleman here who came from Everett or at least is willing to make the effort in having the conversation. Why can't we at least further the conversation? We know what the parameters are. They've been given a 12/31 deadline. I just don't see the harm in allowing the conversation to continue. This is not an annexation. This is just a request to continue the conversation. What would the harm in that be?
There's no harm. We'll continue. I mean, we've had continued conversations with them since 2013.
Yeah.
And I believe even if this annexation doesn't go through, we will still have continued conversations with them regarding whether they meet the county requirements or whether they still have plans to change it. So I don't think our conversations are going to end, but I think we're just answering to the request that's in front of us to make a statement saying that they still need to continue to work with the county. That's where I think the effort is best spent, especially with the intent that they have right now.
And there's no question that that's going to be required, right? They still have a county-imposed deadline of 12/31. It's been very clear that this is years in the making, that this is not an overnight. Even if we'd had the ability to annex the property today, it's still years in the making in order to get the services to them that they need. And so some kind of solution is going to have to be come up with prior to that. But my understanding is the recommendation is to deny the motion or to deny the annexation request. And I just don't see where that's in if they're willing to have the conversation, if they know what all the parameters are, if we've laid our cards out on the table and they want to continue the conversation, why would we not at least continue that conversation?
So can I just ask a quick clarifying question of Councilmember Marshall, and then if you will too, Councilmember Wiesner, you may jump in here. But with everything that Councilmember Wiesner laid out, with the respect of even if we grant them their annexation, this doesn't do anything for them because this is still zoned the way it's zoned.
So I do have a question on that, and admittedly, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but you mentioned there was a land change since the last time they've done this. We've done a land change with that property, right? Or land use change to industrial. So we do have some ability to change the land use even without it being in the city limits. We've done it once, right? So I agree with that. But everything that you'd mentioned, Councilmember, is ordinance, and ordinances are created by council. So, and council can then create new ordinances or undo ordinances. I understand the idea of sprawl and not encroachment onto the base, but we're not talking about a new development. We're talking about existing residential. These people live there currently, so it's not encroaching upon the base. It's a housing development that is there. I don't know if we have some flexibility in grandfathering in and saying, okay, it can continue to be in that existing condition once we start to make significant changes or houses fail. We're not allowing new mobile homes to be moved in here. That gets phased out to industrial over time. But it is currently a affordable housing option in our community. These people are already living there. They understand the noise issues, they deal with that. And so we as a council, in my opinion, have the flexibility to change these things. These rules were put in place by council through ordinance, can be changed by council through ordinance. So I wouldn't say it's hard and fast that there's nothing that can be done. We can do it if we choose to do it. And I am not in favor of encroachment, but I'm also not in favor of just saying you people got to go because this doesn't fit within what our current planning is for this area. I think that we can have some flexibility. I know that life safety is an issue. North Woody Fire has got to service that park right now. the Island County Sheriff's Department has got to service that area right now. Island Disposal has to service that area. The options, there's ways to make it work, you know, in my opinion. And I'm not the expert by any means, nor, like I said, not the smartest guy either, but I just feel like my heart goes out to these people who are struggling, right? And these people who need water, they need sewer. I don't want to kick them out of affordable housing. I want to try to find a way. This council, we adopted years ago, find a way to yes, right? That was our mantra, find a way to yes. And that's kind of where I'm at with this project is let's look at all opportunities to help members of our community, whether they're in the county, in the city. Let's try to find a way. And if that just means furthering the conversation, it may be untenable and we don't have to worry about it. But we take one step at a time, and just to cut it off and say we're not even going to take that next step, to me, I think is a disservice to those residents, and that's where I'm at. So.
And if I can just add, I think the request and the letter states the intent of keeping the use as is, and I think our recommendation is based on that intent, not necessarily just the current use. Now, if the intent of the property owner were to say, we are transitioning into long-term industrial, would like to work with the city in developing an annexation plan to do so, the intent is different, our recommendation would be different.
But at that point, we're displacing 40 some odd homes, and that's that, or people who are living, and like I said, I think just taking the next step, they may find that this is not going to work out. There's no guarantees, right? There's no saying, hey, we will change our zoning, we will allow for this. They would go into this with eyes wide open, knowing that this is what our currently are at, and then take the next step from there.
Yeah, I mean, some of the ideas that you brought up in terms of, you know, whether you enter into an annexation agreement, recognizing nonconformity, not replacing the structures, but all of that is with the intent of transitioning. Right?
Correct.
I mean, so that's
yes.
So that's why I want to clarify that intent is important.
Yes.
In order for so the intent currently is not that, and that's why the recommendation.
Understood. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes. Councilmember Wiesner.
Thank you. Yeah, and just so you know, the proponents were given, I think, 5 different suggestions from the county, and annexation was one of the suggestions, but there was a little bit more to it, right? And I think that long range plan. Personally, myself, I'm with Eric on one thing, and that is the fact that we've got a new consultant here that's just jumped in to this, right? And myself, my tendency would be, you know, to table this, you know, to come back later. Quite frankly, rather than denying the annexation agreement, I'd like to give them the opportunity to withdraw it if they decide they want to withdraw it, or come forward with the rest of the plan to address some of our concerns. We are dealing with 49 property owners here, just not one. But with that said, yeah, challenges are the infrastructure installation. There's a way to do it. You know, a sewer lift station actually is the cheapest way to do it. A main down Oak Harbor Road, that's a really long run. We have sewer up on Goldie Road. We've got gravity flow down to a low spot. We can sewer lift up to Goldie Road. There's a easement in place, Gun Club Road, that the city already owns, that infrastructure could go into. A similar situation took place in Burlington, where there was an affordable housing project that was on septic. The septic failed. The city of Burlington did supply city services in the county, although I understand there was a protest that took place, and it became quite a big deal. Eventually, that housing project, I think, did get annexed. But that was getting them hooked to city services. For the longest time, we thought it couldn't be done. The Growth Management Act specifically forbid it. There's a whole lot of issues with doing it. Like CAC says, once they have the milk, why do you need to buy the cow, right? They're already being served. What incentive would they have, to finish any of the infrastructure or anything? I think the Magnets at one time did look at a proposal that would come forward with a pre-annexation agreement where there might be a a sunset of the of a quote grandfathering, even though we don't like to use that word in city services, but there'd be a sunset in which the transition from residential to industrial would need to be completed. I think that was part of one of the 5 proposals they got, which, you know, is kind of shy of what's going on in this discussion. I certainly think the consultant understands it's a very complicated. You voiced that right at the beginning, and I think he's learning more and more our thoughts, and you know, we give them a chance maybe to address some of those concerns, or you know, withdraw the request rather than us declining it again. Might be a smart move on our part, but with all that said, affordability. You know, we've got to be realistic here. If we were to allow, let's just say we were, and the reality is the subject of the sewer and the water is really not what's in front of us today. That's a whole other issue that's obviously been going for 10 years, and quite frankly, prior to that, because there was some system failure going on, you know, back when they purchased it. They've got some, you know, large drain fields there that are grassy areas, and they're in the lowest part of the park, and they get inundated with the most amount of water, and you know, inevitability for failure long term. But one of the things, you know, is who would put in all that infrastructure, number one. How would the city keep from owning that infrastructure, right? Because otherwise, you know, I mean, when we do development, right, I mean, that development has to be all done to city specifications. We'd have to look at probably upsizing some of those pipeline stuff, because that's what we would do in a normal development. We would want to be able to have water and sewer upsized to serve the neighborhood. You not only have that expense, but then, like the mayor alluded, right now we currently, I imagine there's probably a couple hundred people we serve outside of the city limits water. I know there's several there on Oak Harbor Road. I've hooked, there's a pipeline running out between the base there that I've hooked into before. But it's 1.5 times the charge, and quite frankly should be, because we're not collecting any city tax, right, property tax to help sustain city services, and including the cost of our sewage treatment plant and our water system. So it's 1.5 times. So that's a $300 a month water and sewer bill that would have to be taken on by each and every property owner, above and beyond the installation cost of the infrastructure, which I would guess to be, I know it's $3 million in city dollars going down Oak Harbor Road, but in, you know, private developer money, doing a sewer lift station, probably $500,000 to $750,000. It's not, you know, chump change. And without understanding, again, their long-term plan for development, at this point in time, I feel like we would just be taking on it'd become our problem. Right, and I don't want to pass the buck, because we do have 49 property owners involved, and I think staff, I mean, I know you guys have been beating your head against the wall on this thing for about a year now, right? Obviously the discussion needs to continue, but we have to come up with a palatable solution for all parties: the city, the county, the 49 property owners in there, the magnats, and we're just a long ways from that. We're really back to where we were 8 years ago, right? And I don't know that we've progressed any further beyond that, and hopefully with your help, we can get there. I think there has been a communication disconnect, right? I think they struggle with, you know, understanding, you know, what we're trying to do here, and hopefully we can continue to work together to come up with a solution. At this point in time, I don't think annexation is a solution without the rest of the missing ingredients on the backside of this. And so I would propose allowing them to come back with this, and at least giving their hired consultant the chance to take a breath after tonight and you know, digest some of this and come back.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm going to call on Mayor Pro Tem in 1 second. I just want to ask a couple clarifying questions and throw some more facts out there. Sabrina, when did I issue the letter from the city to them, laying out their options to them? I believe that was over 90 days ago, if not longer, because it was in the summertime.
Yeah, it was several months ago, yes.
So they've had, what, 5 months to be working on a plan and come up with, and how long has Mr. Toyer been engaged with them as a consultant?
That I'm aware of, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I want to say a couple of months now.
Okay, so, right, but what I'm saying is we've had multiple months, not just one, but multiple months to get our stuff together, to use polite terms, and be ready for this meeting tonight because they knew that this was going to be on the docket and that we were bringing it forward. And again, we're coming before this body and we're not prepared to present why or the justification for what they need. I'm not unsympathetic to these people that live in this development, but I am not about to put this on the backs of my citizens that are paying their fair share right now, as well as there is nothing preventing these individuals from us making these substantial improvements to their property and then them turning around and then selling these off because it's now worth a lot more money to them. We have to take that into consideration too, because they're not giving us any guarantees and they're not making any plans with what they intend to do. That is a problem for me as your mayor and somebody that has to answer to my citizens. So that's where I am with this. Now, what you guys choose to do as a body, that's up to you, but that's where I stand with this. We've presented this to them a long time ago and asked them to come to the table. The commissioners have invested a lot of time. My staff has spent hundreds of hours with these individuals trying to work with them and bring this to resolution. We are not the hurdle for these landowners. They're their own worst enemy in this situation. So with that, Mayor Pro Tem, I yield to you.
That's going to be tough to follow.
Tell us what you're going to
The something that's been brought up several times already is the fact that this has been ongoing and circumstances haven't really changed. And, you know, I'm reading these requests and it's, we understand that it's gonna, you know, that we'll bear the expense of whatever all this expensive stuff is. And, you know, while we're trying to do repairs to septic and, you know, but we've been hearing that song and dance for 10 years now. So since the last time this request was in front of us, to your knowledge, CAC, has there been any significant investment on the Mangat's part in terms of repairs, infrastructure, upgrade? I mean, have they done anything to fix
I
what's
cannot
happening?
speak for that because they don't apply
Just
for
to your
permits
knowledge.
here.
Yeah.
But maybe somebody else.
Maybe Steve might know.
I think you're right. And I'm going to try to do a very short analogy that I'm hoping is helpful because you're right. Imagine this was an apartment building, and this apartment building had wonderful tenants living in it, but this apartment building was very, very old. It was close to being at the very end of its useful life. It, and it had sewer running in the hallways. And it is the county's responsibility in this analogy to work with the existing landlord to make them create the health benefits that need to happen to make those tenants healthy. And the county, and we met with the director, Sabrina, and the mayor and I, with their director at the county, and that is their proposal. They're now, why it's taken so long, I don't know. But they are making that landlord work to make those tenants' improvements happen. Now, what we're hearing about is what are we going to do with these tenants? This apartment building is near its end of its useful life. So one proposal is that the city come in and go build a new one. The landlord wants us to do that, let's say in this analogy, right? Well, that might be something. The county is doing that. They're taking I think it's a 1% sales tax right now. It's a very difficult process. The state has really upped the ante on creating affordable housing. And so they were, right now in this city, we have at least 2 or 3 active, brand new, affordable housing that's being built for people to live in that has healthy environment, that has clean water. And so those programs are going on, and those tenants can move into those new facilities that are opening up right now as we speak, that are under construction right now. This So what happens with this property is when it goes through a process, if you decide to move forward, what will happen, and again, I'm using very short analogy and I'll wrap up. If you move forward, 99% of the time, really it's 100% of the time, but I'm saying 99 because there's always that potential. What will happen is they will go through the typical process that you see all over the city, all over our region. They would go through it, they would put in water and sewer, they'd put in new streets according to our city code, they'd build 4,000 square foot lots. Those are now going for $600,000 to $700,000 for a home. That is what you'll get at the end of this process if you want to go through it. That's at the very minimum density that we allow. Higher densities would allow even more, but those are the two processes. Go and the county, go fix this apartment building, get it fixed, and tell them you cannot have sewer running in the hallways or we're going to come after you. That's the process that the county is going right through now. The other part of the process is to go build a brand new apartment building, which will be very expensive and you'd be owned by a private party. Or the third option is the county can use its limited 1% sales tax and go out and find out where it builds its next affordable housing, and maybe there'll be another one, and maybe it might be on this property where they build an affordable housing complex in the future. But I hope that helps you understand where these outcomes are going to go, depending on what you decide.
And to piggyback on that, Commissioner Johnson, in one of the meetings with Sabrina and I, flat out told the landowners that if they didn't have this addressed by 12/31, she would move all of those residents into the low-income housing that she just finished building.
Offered it to
So-
every owner in there.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. This is a difficult situation because, we're talking about people's homes, and I realize that is not necessarily the issue that's in front of us to decide tonight. But, if someone has an apartment building with sewer running down the halls and they get shut down and those tenants are displaced, it's not us displacing them. That's not the city or the county's fault for rendering those people effectively homeless. It's the person who let the sewage run down the hallways in the first place. I mean, that's the thing that concerns me is that, again, and nothing has really changed, is that the property owners seem to think that annexation is some kind of magic bullet. And if no significant investment has been made to repair, I mean, though we've been hearing that, it's in the process of being repaired, but if nothing has happened up until now, if we were to annex it today, then suddenly that investment would be made. Why would it be fixable in those circumstances but not fixable now? Not a lot of proactiveness. And to be clear, the recommendation, I know I'm all over the place, but the recommendation from staff is to take no action tonight. It's not to deny the request. It's to take no action. So there's always potential for further conversation. To me, the intent to keep it as residential is pretty clear. And if that intent were different, then we'd be having, I think, a totally different conversation. But the rent is rolling in, the investments of life, health, safety are not being made, and they're trying to make it our problem. It's, and at the end of the day, it is a problem. People, not having affordable housing is a problem. It's everybody's problem. But it's not the magic bullet that the property owners seem to think that it is. And I guess if I had seen some more proactive problem solving in the last however many 10, 12 years, I would probably feel different, but I just don't. I don't understand what will have changed tomorrow if we decide to like, sure, we'll annex it, we're willing to make the investment, all of that, you know, why tomorrow would that suddenly make any of this doable for the Mangettes? That is the piece that I'm not getting. It hasn't been sold to me yet. So I personally would be in favor of following staff's recommendation, is to take no action. You know, the conversation can obviously continue, and it's unfortunate that, you know, there are real people who are going to be doing and are doing some real suffering, and we want to, as human beings, do everything we can to fix that. And I think that the hundreds of hours that staff has spent on this speaks to the fact that we empathize as humans and we are trying to get to a solution. I mean, we could just say, oh, you know, not our problem, sorry, and not have, but that's not the case. You know, we keep putting in the time and having the conversations and having the one-on-one meetings and discussions and trying to problem solve and working with the county because we want to find a solution. You know, unfortunately, just the different parties seem to have different ideas of what the, you know, quote unquote solution may or may not be. So I'm not comfortable proceeding with annexation. I'm not comfortable denying it. Just, I would take no action, and again, with the county's deadline of December 31, nothing we do tonight is gonna have any impact as far as that's concerned anyway. So while we can empathize as human beings, there's really not anything we can do to fix it. We can change all the ordinances we want, but it's tough. It's tough to sit with. That's all. I'll stop.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Romero.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been listening to the comments and the observations, and I can agree sweepingly with regard to matters of empathy for the people that are living there and the unsanitary conditions and all the history of dealing with the owner-operators. But I'm going to play a little hardball, and that is this. Business people are in the business of making money, and there are any number of mobile home parks who have healthy, reliable, safe housing that are mobile home parks. But if somebody is, in all practical purposes, an absentee landlord and is looking for checks to just keep rolling in, the more housing that they can put on a piece of property, whether it be mobile homes and so forth, it just looks like a golden answer. But then they start to run up against health issues and what really appears to be exploitive behavior without addressing the needs of the people who live there. Then the onus is on the owner-operator. So I'm just delighted to support the mayor's impassioned message, because I think really the owner-operators have to absorb the cost of their operation. That is just the nature of business. And if you are unwilling to do that, then you have to scale it back. So if it means taking some housing off the site because you're oversaturating it, but the idea of trying to get the city, or the county for that matter, to bear the burden of the cost of a business operation, which is just a normal business residential function, is not right. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Councilmember Arms.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been privy to this for a long time. And yes, we feel really bad for those people. But everybody knew this was happening. Nobody did anything, like Merrill, Heisen, all of us have said. Nobody did anything. You know, even the people that live there. After a while, you have to, and you have an investment if you've bought it, but nobody did anything. And so everybody's waiting for somebody else to do it. It doesn't work that way. You know, if you see it failing, then you have to take action. and these people aren't taking action. And so they're expecting us to take care of something that isn't our fault, that they should have properly taken care of. I've lived in a mobile home park. I know what it takes to properly take care of it. And we had an owner that did that. That owner stuck up for us when we were in harm's way. And he stuck up for us, and he made sure that we didn't lose any of those mobile homes when we could have lost them. That mobile home park is still working. And this owner took the onus. And this person does not seem to have done that. They just went in, here we are, whatever. I have other people that live in mobile home parks. They have standards. You have to meet these standards to keep up your place, or you're gone. And they have just looked at it and with what? I feel bad. But if you're living there, then you needed to have realized that and said, you know, maybe I need to figure out how to move. And that sounds cold, but we can't bail every person out. No matter how hard this is, we cannot bail everything out. We have a city that has a budget, and that we are taking care of our own citizens. If they've been given the opportunity to move and to low-income housing, that's a better standard. But they've known forever that this is failing, and they kept living there thinking that eventually somebody would feel bad enough to do it. And I do feel bad, but I know what it takes to live in a mobile home park. I know what the management is required of, and I have seen mobile homes from people I know and from what I've lived in, and we never had that problem, never. And I saw them taking care of their people and what that needed to be done. So now, because somebody didn't do it and they're looking at everybody else, we can't be the be-all, end-all. And that's how I feel. You guys can figure it out, but I feel bad. I've been around. I've lived in a mobile home park. I know exactly what it takes to run it and to take care of it properly. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Arms. Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to be very clear. This is not the resident's fault. This is not their issue. This is the property owner that has failed to provide the necessary services. I do take real issue, though, with the idea of flippantly making the comments that we can just put them in other houses or put them in apartments. Many of these people own their trailers. They have paid for it. And we are just saying, well, we will put you in a place where now you have to go pay rent. Yes, they are paying lot rent for that space, but they own their home. There is a significant difference in living in an apartment versus living in a trailer. In a trailer, you essentially have your own home. Whether it be a stick-built house, you are not sharing common walls with other people. You have your own yard. You have the ability to have pets. So I take real offense to just the flippant suggestion of that we can put them in apartments and call it good. That is not the way that we should be treating people within our community, whether they live in city limits or they live in the county, just to suggest that is a viable option for them. I fully understand that this is a failure on the property owner's part. But I just also want to be very clear, if we take no action, per the recommended action, in this instance, no action will have the same effect as rejection. So we are saying this is not our problem, this is your problem, county, this is your problem, Magnus, you guys figure it out. We're not going to even be at the table in this conversation. And that is, in my opinion, is not the stance that we should take when we are talking about people who share our community. They may not share our indebtedness with water and sewer. They share our indebtedness with, they help fund our schools, they help with they buy their groceries here, they buy their gas here, they do everything else. These are people in our community that we need to have compassion for. And just to say, well, we are going to take no action, therefore reject it. County, it's your problem. Magnus, it's your problem. We're not even going to be at the table in this conversation. I won't support that. I will support accepting the annexation request so we can continue the conversation knowing fully well what our expectations are and what the challenges for this are. But I just won't flatly reject and say this is somebody else's problem, because it's not. It's our problem.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. I just want to just clarify something really quickly, too. I don't think that anyone up here said we would just move them. That was an option that was afforded to them by the county commissioners in a meeting. That I said that? Oh, okay. Because and to the other side of that, it's very offensive to me to insinuate that we don't have a lot of empathy for these folks when you look at the number of hours and time that we've put into this as a staff and as a body. We've spent hundreds of hours, and I can show you the receipts on that. So we are very invested in trying to find something for them, but it takes two people. It takes both sides coming to the table and working this to resolution. And we're not seeing anything on the other side. I'm not about to sit here with every other thing that I have on my plate and all the other responsibilities of running the city and going to worry about this one community above everyone else. That's not my job.
No, and I fully agree with that, Mayor, and I understand. We have not rejected it the last two times, and it's just run its course, right? We said, yes, we would proceed with it. They didn't meet the requirements. Then it is back on them and back on the county. But for us to just flatly reject it and say, no, we're not going to, that's not where I would like.
Yeah. Councilmember Arms.
Just to be clear on that, we didn't. We only denied it once, and that was back in 2014. The last two times that they've come, we've allowed the conversation to move forward, and they didn't meet the requirements. So the failure then is very clearly on their part, and I'm not trying to skirt away from that. They have failed the residents of this park up to this point.
Yeah, the last time we rejected it because they didn't even show up for the meeting. They didn't even send a representative.
Even then, we didn't reject it. We still agreed to move it forward. They
Right.
just didn't do it.
And so I just want to make a point of clarification there too. So CAC, I'm looking to you. If again there's no action taken tonight, they could bring this forward again, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this isn't rejecting their motion. It's just
That's not what the language says, though. The language in our motion says it. I'm sorry, a rejection is, or a no action is the same as a rejection. That's what it says in our slide.
In the sense that they continue to work with the county. So so there's already been a denial, which gives them the ability to go to the county to get permits and improvements and so on and so forth. And I think that denial still stands. I don't know if there's an end to any of these actions. So then they came back for annexation, and we said, okay, let's continue the conversation. Again, nothing happened. Second time, again, they went forward, nothing happened. I think a no action in the sense is similar to denial because they can continue to work with the county. In that sense, it means that we're not denying them the opportunity to work with the county. If we say, yes, we would like to do annexation, then most of their work should be with the city. They can't be applying for county permits. So there's a contradiction here. So no action allows them actually a little more gray area to continue to work with the county and get permits from them. If they're in an annexation process, then they should be working with the city. They can't be doing it at both sides.
But they have to work with the county still because they have a 12/31 deadline. There's no getting around that, and they have to, if there is an immediate public health issue, right, in terms of the septic, they have to continue to address that because it's still years away.
Absolutely. The life safety issues have to be addressed no matter what. But in terms of building improvements, in terms of site improvements, et cetera, those are permits that need to be obtained. And so you still want them to have the ability to apply for some of those at the county. If you enter into an annexation negotiation with them, then they can't apply with the county anymore. They have to work with the city. So a no action gives them actually the ability to continue to see if they can pursue options with the county. Now, if you see all of the communication that has happened in between all of these requests, we're still working with them. So in some ways, the conversation will still continue. The letter that the mayor sent was sent 6 months ago. That was before the petition. So this conversation going on outside of these petition time windows that we're talking about. So The suggestion to go with the no action gives them the best opportunity to still continue to work with the county. They can always come back for another annexation petition similar to this when they're ready.
So Councilmember Marshall, I just want to also point out, and I know Councilmember Stuckey, I'll call on you next. It was probably 16 months ago, I don't have the exact date, but when we were at the county, I had David Kuhl with me, I had Steve Schuler with me, I took Sabrina, didn't we also take Alex, I think? I don't know.
No,
But
we
anyway,
did. It was just-
we presented them with short-term solutions at that time to say, these are the things that you can do in the interim to start seeing instant relief until you can figure out how you want to go and fix this in a huge capital way, like investing millions of dollars. So, and again, none of those things have been done. None. And I don't understand why. So that's why there's a lot of frustration from the voice here. So, Councilmember Stuckey.
I'm going to be boring. I move to take no action on this annexation request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to take no action on the annexation request by Councilmember Stuckey. We have a second by Councilmember Romero. Before I call for a vote, is there any further discussion? And I have two hands up, so Mayor Pro Tem, you're first.
Just clarify procedurally, to take no action means no action. There's no motion. There's no.
I clarified. We do have to. The same question. We have to make a motion.
No. We just.
Julie.
I will defer to Hillary on this, but I believe that you still need to state that you will take no action.
You can do either. Both are proper. It depends on how you want to address it. If nobody makes a motion and nobody seconds a motion, it'll die on the table. You also move to continue it, or you could have no one make a motion. I think all those things are possible.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think one of the things too is it helps staff because like with these past incidents or situations when we've reviewed this, it gives us an opportunity to see what the action was that council took. So we're bringing these back and there's been multiples.
In terms of minutes. Okay, I'm just like, no action. If you make a motion and approve it, then that was action. That, by definition, you took action to take no action. So I'm getting bogged down in the parliamentary side of things. But, so, symbolically, we can move to, sure. Just for clarification's sake, that's fine. And just to be absolutely clear, if we approved the annexation request, that would effectively hamstring the Manguettes in terms of limiting their options. So we don't want to do that because that would be doing them a disservice by limiting their options. And the denial of the application has already happened, and so that is the current status. So by doing nothing, we are continuing the conversation. Nobody's rejecting anything. We're just, by taking no action, then that just allows us to continue the conversation. Just so everybody's clear on what the result of what we do or don't do tonight. Denying it would just, I think, be redundant because that's their current status, so nothing has changed. And accepting it would only complicate things and limit their options, and we don't want to do that. So the conversation continues if this motion passes to take, no action. Correct.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Wiesner?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And really what it does is to put the ball back in their court, right? Because either they decide to continue to pursue the annexation, or they withdraw the application, or the application just dies for lack of pursuit. Just to be clear in I guess, marching orders to everybody involved, I think page 255 in our package is where it starts. And I'm just curious, CAC, has that document been delivered to the Magnettes, the comments from city staff that was delivered?
They have the packet.
And so,
I sent a link of the packet to David Toyer as their representation.
So ultimately, I think that spells it out very clearly. These would be the conditions if we were to consider an annexation in the future with this particular property. These would be the minimum conditions that would be laid out. And I find it very hard to believe that the proponent would look at that list and say, yeah, we agree to everything on that list. And without agreeing to everything on that list, we probably don't have a deal, right? So I think that's going to be an important tool for their consultant moving forward. That is the list. That is what they would have to do if, in fact, there was an annexation to move forward. Then, furthermore, I just want to, for the rest of council, I just want to share my insight on page 261, which is actually the most logical solution for this dilemma. It's presented by Sean Morris, the head of Island County Health. And that is the Magnets own a significant holding, as you can see, that is not necessarily just a mobile home park. There's additional land that they hold. It's measured in acres. I think it's 20 or 30 acres, if I'm not mistaken. The simplest solution to this entire deal is to install an LOSS, a large off-site sewer system. We have one currently operating in Rolling Hills. We've got 38 homes connected to it. These were homes that did not perk, had failing septics, etc. We took a piece of land that was roughly 5 acres in size. We installed a large drain field on that 5-acre parcel to serve all those homes. All it requires is a grinder system similar to what we've got down at Dillard Lane. So they would add a pump chamber to their existing septic tanks. Although many of the septic tanks in the park are failing also. That's part of the problem. We're finding concrete tanks at about the 45-year mark degrade and start leaking. But assuming they had a watertight septic tank, all they would do is they'd add a pump chamber to each of those septic tanks. They would pump it over to that LOSS. The LOSSs are administered by the State Department of Health. It wouldn't be the only one in the world. And it could probably be installed for less than $250,000. City would not have to have any involvement in it. We wouldn't be worried about any of the infrastructure. They could stay in the county. The county's offered that up to them. And I just want the rest of council to know that if this annexation doesn't happen, if the city does not connect them to city services, there is a solution. It's not all on us. We are not, by making this vote, killing this park. We're stopping the 4-page list of requirements such as fire flow, fire department turnarounds, new water lines, new infrastructure. That list goes away, and now the list is focused on solving the problem, putting in an LOSS, much more affordable. They would continue to be able to operate just like they are, property owners, and they wouldn't have the cost of city services, $300 a month, to pay moving forward. So I just want everybody to be aware the solution is on page 261 of our packets.
Thank you, Councilmember Wiesner. Councilmember Romero.
Yes, Councilmember Wiesner, thank you for that insightful answer. I want to get back to appearances. Again, these are circumstantial, but I worked for years as a constable doing civil law enforcement, and I had to do evictions and all these countless other things I don't need to go into. But one thing I do know is that when there were property owners or tenants or anybody that did not want to do what they needed to do and what they should do by fiduciary responsibility and contractual responsibilities because it cost, and that they would delay. So that is an infamous or famous, no matter how you look at it, technique to try to get your way. So the appearances circumstantially with regard to the owner-operators of this property is they're trying to wear down the city council to conform to what they want us to do to bear the cost of the repairs and the upkeep of just the cost of solving this problem. And I encourage all of us here to recognize the empathy piece with regard to but we have to place the onus on where it needs to be, and that would be with the owner operators. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Romero. Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded. I think everyone has had an opportunity. Councilmember Marshall, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that I'm clear. So, Mayor Pro Tem, you said that if we continue with the no action, we are continuing with the previous decision. But that I don't believe to be true, because the denial was in 2014, the last two times we actually approved the annex. So we're not actually continuing on with what we've done before. The last two times we approved them to continue with the conversation.
Let's just clarify with Hillary. She needed the answer correct. Hillary, can you weigh in and just, if we do no action, essentially they can continue working with the county and bring this back at a later time? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The other question that I had then, to Councilmember Wiesner's point of page 261, while that addresses their wastewater and their septic system, how does that address the clean water for, I mean, are they going to have to do a new well? How does that address the clean water? Because I understand, but we've heard that their water was an issue.
Yeah, as I understand it, that is being managed by the Department of Ecology, and they have to meet those rules. And according to the county, those records are coming back, and they're meeting those requirements for that well. So it's the septic system and that sewage that potentially could affect that well. But right now, that well is meeting its requirements, and there is a recommendation to take care of the sewer so you don't have a pending issue of that getting into the groundwater. So they are meeting those requirements through the Department of Ecology, and that is the state that makes them meet those requirements. So that, monthly testing, exactly. Yep.
The water down, they go to a boil order, so that's all being tracked, but they are concerned about groundwater.
Yes, and then, thank you, and then just to be more specific, not to get too detailed late at night, but the well is meeting its requirements, but what those individual service lines are and what's happening between the well and those really old service lines going into the really old mobile home park, that's a separate issue.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Is that good? Okay. All right. So to reiterate again, we have a motion. It's been seconded. I think we've all had discussion. Everyone good at this point before I call for a vote? And can we please repeat the motion that is on the table so that everyone knows what they're voting on? I'm sorry, Julie. Mayor Pro, oh no, Councilmember Stuckey made the motion, Mayor Pro Tem seconded. Oh, no? Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry, Councilmember Marrow seconded. Yeah, Marrow seconded, I'm sorry. So the motion on the table is to take no action. It was seconded. So now we've all had discussion. So all in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. All opposed. 5, 4, 1 opposed. The motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. The last topic on the table is the 2025 employee survey update. Here to introduce that is our communications officer, Maggie Aguilar.
Hi, good evening again. Maggie, your communications officer. I wanted to give you an update on our 2025 employee survey. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of some of our past surveys. In 2021, well, first off, I want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to facilitate the survey. It's been an honor. Honestly, this is something that I love to do and have enjoyed it so far. So, just to give you some history, in 2021, the morale survey was conducted, and there were 48 responses that were received. And at that time, the survey was a print and fill out survey. So the option of turning in that survey was basically to email it to the mayor at that time, or to do an inter-office envelope, or to drop it off at the in the box here at City Hall. A year later, in 2022, there was a staff check-in survey which was conducted, and there were 32 responses received at that time. The platform for that survey was SurveyMonkey, so it did allow for some anonymity, but then I thought, well, I wonder why there was only 32 responses. So I looked at the survey a little deeper and noticed that there was a question that asked for the department of the employee. So I think that maybe that had something to do with the lower response turnout. But I am proud to announce that we received 147 responses on our 2025 survey. So that is really, really great. I'm really proud of that number. And I'd like to thank you all for allowing us to use the incentives, because I do feel like they made a difference. We did. People do like pizza. We met every incentive threshold, and then just to go into the actual survey. The survey was done through a single web link through SurveyMonkey, and we closed at the end of October 30th, and then we started collecting the responses September 15th. Some of the biggest spikes that I saw were obviously September 15th was the day after, and then a big spike the week of October 23rd, and I think that's because we had sent some reminders during that week. And then when we look at the distribution from September and October, we equally had 73 responses in September and 73 in October. So that was essentially the feedback that we received altogether, which was really nice. And then in November, I emailed all of you the survey. You will see that there was one answer in November that trickled in. When I was downloading the results for the committee, I turned it on and somebody must have snuck in and did it in November. So you'll see it in your packet. And I'll let the committee decide if they want to count it or not, but I think we should. The survey committee has been formed, and there is a representation from most departments, and our first meeting we've already had was November 17th. And now we're just going to do a brief overview of the some numbers. So the survey, as you know, was a 1 to 5 agreement scale. Across all of the, so what I did just initially, just to do an initial look, I took an average of every answer, and then I added all of those up and then took an average of all the answers. So out of a scale of 1 to 5, we're at 3.68. So a little under 4 out of 5 is really great. So we're leaning, the general feeling is just very positive. I feel the respondents were positive, but we're not a 5, so there is room for improvement. And then let's talk about what people actually said. The sentiment overall for the questions about employee morale, experience, recommendations, most respondents landed in the neutral or positive range. Most feel very supported by administration and council, so that was really nice to see. When people talked about their general experience, the tone was also a very positive tone, and 52% overall were neutral, and also there's some room for improvement there too. And then the common themes, just from seeing the initial review with the committee, was the open-ended questions. Some of the themes were leadership practices, communication, employee experience and engagement, organizational health, compensation, workplace environment, and professional development. That is just what we see initially, but many of the suggestions centered on the need for more clear dialogue, more growth opportunities, work-life balance, and recognition. And the thing with open-ended questions that there's a challenge with is that you have to analyze each question, so each answer. So the one open-ended question could potentially have something positive, something neutral, or something negative within that answer. So you have to go through each one and analyze each one individually. So that's probably what's going to take a little bit of some more time. And as you can see in the open-ended questions, the majority of the questions have like 90 open-ended answers to them. So it is going to take a little bit. So a few weeks ago, I stood here and I said that I would do my best to paint a picture for you of our team and attempt to tell a story the best way that I can with respect to our employees and respecting their answers. I think it was really important to let them know that anonymity was important and that we would be very respectful to their answers and do what we can to have them feel heard. With 147 entries or responses, and we can't ignore it. So I want to thank the staff for taking the time to share their feedback. I want them just to know that we really appreciate their feedback, and more importantly, for just trusting the process. So, and I want to thank you again. So no action today, just an update, but more to come. We have another committee meeting in December, and then we will have some more structured agenda items moving forward with the committee. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Maggie, for that. Are there any questions? Yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
Just a comment. Great job.
Sure. Thank
Right.
you.
I'm most excited about that number 147.
Same, yeah.
I really am. And
Yeah.
thank you to the staff, all 147 of you who took the time to put the information out there. You know, no matter
Yeah.
what you said, it is valuable input.
Yeah.
And Maggie, thank you for taking the time to come up with a system that I think is the foundation, right, for us moving forward, right? I think what you've established is a good baseline, right, that we could use moving forward. And obviously, by taking that same baseline and repeating it, you're going to be able to get a gauge.
Right. Yeah, and I
Right?
thought about that, which is interesting that you bring that up, because looking at some of the surveys from the previous years, from 21 and 22, it's really hard to compare because there's not apples to apples, because they weren't done in a way where I can
That's right. You couldn't duplicate it.
Right.
See, by
So-
using
but now I feel like
by
going
using
forward we can.
the Survey Monkey, by taking and taking our input on how those questions were asked and stuff,
Exactly.
you've created a good solid baseline that can be used moving forward. We
Right.
don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. And from that baseline, we're actually going to get the most immediate feedback. And
Right.
if we repeat this survey a year from now, we can compare apples to apples, and that's
Definitely.
going to give us an exact idea. Are we heading the right direction, the wrong direction, or are we just not doing enough, right? And
Right.
so the fact that you took the time to lay this foundation for us
Yeah.
to build upon, I think is very important. The fact that we got those numbers is because the employees felt safe in giving their input, which I know was a big concern of all of us.
Definitely.
Oh, do we need to hire a consultant to do this? Do we need to bring in an outside firm, to make the employees? Thank you, employees, for trusting us.
Yeah,
Right?
and that's one thing I definitely wanted to put out there, because it initially, when I stood up here a few months ago, it was not easy, because we did get a lot of pushback because of past surveys. So it was really nice to see that they have trusted the process.
Yeah, no, it's huge, and that, like I say, that number is huge, right? What we can do with the input is directly reflected by how accurate the input is, and when we get the input over a larger base, we can take that as more accurate.
Right.
Right, and so, like I say, great job with the numbers, great job laying the foundation, and I won't be around for the next couple of years, but I sure hope you guys take the foundation you've laid and use it to build a wall, right? Because
Definitely.
I think you've done a good job of laying those bricks. So thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Anything else for the good of the order on this? Maggie, I just want to personally thank you for your commitment to wanting to see positive change affected here at the city with
you.
staff and everyone. So you are a bright light every day to come into work too. So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, I thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I know, by the way, everybody trusts Maggie.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of one-on-one conversations with people, and I think that that's really important, especially when there is a little skepticism. I think it is important to have those one-on-one conversations and explain the process to those that they're a little skeptical.
So Mayor Pro Tem also has a comment.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to thank staff, not just for participating, but for their candor. I mean, some of them really let us have it, and that's great. That's great.
It is good, yeah.
Yes, I love it because
It was all directed at you, by the way.
well, sure. It's like, oh well, we've done surveys before, nothing has changed. Like, okay, but we got 36 responses, and but I mean, people, they took the time to type out paragraphs for us, and I appreciate that so much. thank you so much, because this is the stuff that we want to hear and that we need to know, and we know that it takes time. And even though, some people are openly skeptical about the process, they still participated. And I appreciate it so much. I wish I had highlighted it. There was one answer that really stuck out, and it was, I don't remember what the question was, but it was like, we're tired and we're stressed, but we're still coming to work every day because we believe in the city's mission and the public we serve, or something. It was beautifully said. And thank you. I spent most of the day going over this. I'm going to be sitting with this for a while. I just appreciate the feedback and the candor and the honesty so much. Genuinely.
A lot of reading material for sure.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, well, thank you, Maggie. And
Yep,
with
you're
that,
welcome.
there being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
There could be.
All right, we have a motion. Second, all in favor, raise your hand. Aye.